tradition. Tonight, the CFL on CBC, home of the champions.
This is CBC, Public Broadcasting.
The following is a live presentation of CBC Sports.
Tonight at Frank Clair Stadium in Ottawa, the Rough Riders and BC Lions begin the second half of their CFL seasons. A year ago, Dave Ritchie ran the best defense in the CFL in Ottawa with the Rough Riders. The team mowed down offenses the league over. Now Ritchie's returned to Ottawa as head coach of the BC Lions, a team vastly improved in part because of players Ritchie took with him to BC. Les Brown remains one of the CFL's premier defenders. Rob Smith anchors what many say is the best offensive line in the league. And Sean Foodie, a safety, out of the lineup because of injury tonight, but he's already made a contribution to a defense that was the league's worst last year, but has given up 60 points fewer this year. Accordingly, the Lions' record is far ahead of where it was a year ago. Ottawa has gone in the opposite direction, and who can say how much the Riders miss their former mates? Ron Smeltzer's job has not been easy. Close losses might have gone the other way had players like Les Brown remained. As it is, the Riders have unraveled in the last minute of several games. But last week, Ottawa finally got one back for its second win of the season. Now, tonight, against their former defensive coach, the Riders have a chance to begin a win streak.
The CFL on CBC. Tonight, from Frank Clair Stadium in Ottawa, the BC Lions against the Ottawa Rough Riders.
When you get to the Labor Day weekend, it's not hard to attach importance to CFL games like this one. The marquee at Frank Clair Stadium reached the BC Lions here to play the Rough Riders. And tonight's is the first of 4 telecasts for us on the holiday weekend. They're all big games. Tomorrow, Winnipeg's at Saskatchewan. They'll have another sellout at Taylor Field and big crowds on Monday for the Classics, Edmonton at Calgary, followed by Toronto at Hamilton. Now we welcome you to Ottawa, where if nothing else, the Riders lead the league in headlines. Owner upset, consultants hired, Manley returning, although not tonight. And guess what? In the midst of all that, the Riders are still playing football. On Monday, Ron Smeltzer asked for and received a vote of confidence, and thereafter began preparing his team for this game. And if the Riders can rise above all the distractions, they'll move into a tie for second place in the East Division. How about the Lions? At 6-3, they've doubled their win total for all of last season, so they're already the comeback team of the 1993 campaign. That accolade due largely to the number of former Riders they have. Players like Les Brown, the CFL's all-time leading pass interceptor, and he'll be hungry tonight for obvious reasons. In the booth to describe the proceedings, here are James Curry and Don Whitman.
Scott, some of those former Riders well aware of the wrath of Coach Dave Ritchie, and on Wednesday of this week, upset with a listless practice, James. He hauled his team off the playing field, the practice field, after about 80 minutes. Are you a believer that you play as you practice?
Well, Dave Ritchie is sure a believer of that, Don, and he felt that his team's only real chance to catch Calgary was to beat them last week when they had the head-to-head competition. And he felt that was a rollover in practice of the way that they played in the game, coming out on the short end of the score, and they went into practice with a little complacency. He wasn't going to go for that at all. He snatched them off the field, said, guys, you'll play like that again next week. I won't have it today.
Here in Ottawa, they had a different situation, a fight on the field involving 2 of their key performers, Angelo Snipes and Denny Chronopoulos, not once, but twice.
Well, a lot of frustration has rolled around here in Ottawa from the press and so forth, movement in the upper management, and that's gone off on the field with the players, and they felt a little frustration, and Snipes and Chronopoulos took it out on each other a couple of times on the practice field.
Ron Smeltzer hopes they'll be fighting mad against the Lions tonight. Scott?
Don, it's a gorgeous night in Ottawa as summer hangs on here. The pressure on the home team has been immense, but the Riders should expect no relief from the Lions as we head to the kickoff of our Labor Day weekend spectacular.
Frank Clair Stadium, renamed after the man who led this team to some of its most successful times in the Canadian Football League, formerly Lansdowne Park. and a facility in which the Rough Riders this year have won just one game. They have 2 wins. They hope to improve upon that tonight. Ron Smeltzer, taking a look at his team's record, looks back on 4 games which they lost by a total of 9 points and feels they could just as easily have gone the other way. Dave Ritchie hopes that his team will continue the solid type of play that they demonstrated in the first 9 games of the season in compiling a 6-3 record. They came very close a week ago to knocking off the unbeaten Calgary Stampeders.
Well, he let it be known this past week, Don, that he wasn't going to settle for complacency, and that was one of the moves in snatching the team off the practice field, motivating them for this week's contest.
Ottawa kicking off, and Philpott. No, he's not going to handle it. It's going to be taken by Flutie. Philpott came racing up to handle that kickoff, but Flutie took it instead, and he's brought down by Gord Weber. A 46-yard kickoff and an 8-yard run back. Danny Barrett continues to lead the BC Lions, and what a game he had a couple of weeks ago against the Toronto Argonauts, establishing a record 601 passing yards, and he has some talented folks to throw to. As you said at the start, he's operating behind what might be the best offensive line in the league.
A good assembly of veteran players, and they're playing very well here the first half of the season.
Trevathan moves in motion across the formation. Sean Millington seems to be a little confused about where he's to line up. And the pass intended for Alexander well over his head. He was being covered by Patrick Burke. So it will be 2nd and 10 for the BC Lions. And this is the defense that Danny Barrett faces. Same 3 who did such a fine job last year in leading the Riders in a number of defensive categories. And like the BC Lions, the Ottawa Rough Riders have been forced to make some adjustments throughout the course of the season in their secondary. From the shotgun, 2nd and 10. Barrett's pass incomplete. In and out of the hands of Clark. So it's 2 and out for the BC Lions.
Brett Young made a tremendous move on the ball that time. Barrett had plenty of time from his offensive line. He sat right in the pocket, was able to survey the field. Brett Young made a tremendous break to knock that away at the last moment. As you can see, Barrett has a chance to look over 2 to 3 different receivers, and he fires that one right down for Clark. The pressure's right there after he releases it, but just a step too late.
As Lou Pasaglia prepares to punt, the newest addition to the Ottawa Rough Riders, Walter Stanley, is back to receive the kick. And he's the lone man back. The Rough Riders feel that they might be able to get through on Lou Pasaglia. Pasaglia with plenty of time, and he hits a beauty. Stanley takes it at the 20-yard line. And Stanley is spun down as he gets up to the 32. A 51-yard punt and an 11-yard return. Tom Burgess, the #1 quarterback for the Ottawa Rough Riders, although he did not start the game against the Calgary Stampeders, mainly because Coach Smeltzer felt he might have lost some confidence coming off a very poor performance against the Saskatchewan Rough Riders. Mike Graybill, a rarity in the CFL, an import offensive lineman. Burgess is in trouble. And the sack leader in the CFL, O.J. Brigance, now has an even dozen for the year.
O.J., you know, with a great move, just came in off that left corner, straight line to Tommy Burgess, got his 12th of the season on that play.
They refer to the BC lineup as the 3-4 nationality lineup because the front 3 in the 3-4 setup are all Canadians. And that is something unique in the CFL.
Another rarity like an American offensive lineman.
Burgess is in trouble, and this BC defense is ferocious tonight. Tyrone Jones made the initial contact with Tommy Burgess.
Along with Glenn Scrivener coming straight up the middle. When you look at Tyrone Jones, Tyrone has been maligned a little bit early here in the season, but that time got great surge from his right in position, coming right around the corner with Scrivener up the middle and able to drop Burgess for the 2nd sack in succession.
Coach Ritchie was saying that Ty Jones has not been as talkative over the last few games as he may have been earlier in his career, but he feels that now that he's recovered from some of the health problems that bothered him earlier in the season, he'll play the type of football he did for Ritchie when they were together in Winnipeg.
You have to be productive sometime to talk the trash, and Tyrone had to get a little quiet there for a few games.
Terry Baker's third down punt. Taken by Lonnie Turner. Gordon missed him, but coming over to make the tackle was Gord Weber. 12-11 is the time remaining in the still scoreless opening quarter.
The CFL on CBC. Brought to you by Dodge Trucks, the most powerful line of trucks anywhere.
Coach Ritchie may have had legitimate concerns about a listless BC Lion practice this week, but defensively, this team has been fired up to start this football game against Ottawa.
Well, he's been known as a defensive specialist, and his forte has been laid out in the first series of the BC's defense.
Penalty flag in the play. The pass is complete to Alexander, and Alexander will be stopped after a gain of about 4.
Well, they missed Alexander in last week's contest, and he's stepping up. He's the team's leading receiver. He had missed last week with an injury, but he's starting off this contest where he had left off before he got injured in that last game.
Penalty is against Ottawa, offside.
Jake Ireland, the referee of tonight's game.
Offside. Ottawa number 95. Repeat first down.
You have the linemen there listening to the count. Greg Steuben there, a little overzealousness, listening to Barrett's vocal reflection, and jumped offside prematurely on the play.
So it will be 1st and 5. Danny Barrett has completed just over 56% of his passes this year, but the impressive statistic is he has 17 touchdown throws and only 7 interceptions. Toss to Corey Philpott. Philpott isn't going to get to the outside.
Angelo Snipes playing the corner like you expect your outside linebacker to do. Angelo Snipes was lined up on the right side. We got Gordon Weber down on the field here. But Snipes did a tremendous job of penetrating across the line of scrimmage, not letting Philpott get his shoulders turned upfield and let the pursuit catch up with him.
Gord Weber plays an inside linebacking position. He'll have to go out and will be replaced by Joe Sardo. But in obvious passing situations, I think we'll see the Rough Riders go to a 6 DB package.
Well, they're going to have to load it up with that dime package against this BC passing attack. When Danny Barry gets hot, he can pick this defense apart. You'll see Gord Weber stepping up. Great pursuit angle, but he just is hard to tell exactly. Maybe he got twisted there on his leg or whatever as he went down because he just fell off Philpott. Wasn't much contact. And hopefully it's nothing too serious. They're checking out his right leg now down on the field.
When a starting Canadian player goes down, it certainly upsets your Canadian import ratio and forces a coach to do a lot of juggling. They are fortunate that they do have a Canadian backup in Joe Sardo to come in for Weber.
Well, Weber was one of the reasons they felt that they could make some ratio changes on the team this year by putting an American offensive lineman in. Weber had developed defensively and had become a strong, solid player, and they made that adjustment, moving him into the starting lineup. And it's unfortunate to see him go down early in the game. He seems to be under some immense amount of pain right now. And you saw where he just showed an example of what happened to his knee. He banged and got a little twist in it. But fortunately, you know, as you said, you have Sardo, a solid backup to step in here early in the game, Don.
Well, Sardo is going to move into a linebacking position. And while they are assisting Gord Weber off the field, let's take a look at how the teams shape up heading into the second half of the season. The Winnipeg Blue Bombers with a big jump towards finishing in first place. They have a 6-point advantage over Hamilton. Ottawa just 2 back of Hamilton and 2 ahead of Toronto. In the West, Sacramento only with 4 points. Calgary unbeaten, but what a battle. BC, Saskatchewan, and Edmonton for the number 2 spot.
Well, really, it's more a challenge for the number 4 spot, Don. When you look at it, nobody really wants to have to play Calgary in the first round of the playoffs.
You're conceding first place to Calgary.
Well, right now, a lot of other people are also. And with that gridlock at second and third place right now, you really want to have the better half of the second part of the season.
Well, Weber appears to be in a lot of discomfort, and obviously he can't put any weight on his leg. So it'll be interesting to see what tactic the BC Lions employ
whether they'll try and attack his replacement, Joe Sardo, who doesn't have Weber's experience.
This is a situation where Barrett might be looking to go over the middle on some of those slant routes.
Barrett decides to go deep, and he overthrows Darren Flutie. Angelo Snipes may have been the reason that throw was off target.
Well, Snipes was the main reason for that. He had lined up as his right end spot, came through freely. Barrett felt the pressure and just let that one go, and Snipes let him pay for it just as he released the pass.
Dave Ritchie, the architect of this Ottawa defensive scheme. And Angelo Snipes was one of the key players in a defense that last year was either first or second in 21 of 25 categories.
Well, Snipes also led the league in sacks last year.
He had a club record 20 for the Ottawa Rough Riders last season. Lou Pasaglia's third down punt angled to the sidelines. And it bounces out of bounds before Walter Stanley can handle it at the 24-yard line. 10:46 remaining in the opening quarter. A 29-yard punt that time by Lou Pasaglia.
Well, this is a situation where Tommy Burgess really didn't get a chance to get himself settled in his first series. Before he could really get planted in the pocket, he was planted on the turf back-to-back plays. He's really going to have to get off some passes very quickly against this defense, Don.
He's going to possibly set records this year for yards for an Ottawa Rough Rider quarterback, but he could also set a record for interceptions for a Rough Rider quarterback.
Well, interceptions, and he's going to get close to that sack record. Coming into this game, he had been sacked 33 times, and you can add 2 more on that first series.
First and 10 from the 24. Darren Joseph will spin for about 3 yards. He's stopped by O.J. Brigance. Joseph made his CFL debut last year in an impressive fashion against the BC Lions at BC Place Stadium. He ran very, very well, and it was based on that performance that they felt that they could possibly delete Reggie Barnes from the lineup.
Well, Reggie Barnes had possibly been the major difference in the offense thus far in the season for the Rough Riders.
On second down, Burgess throwing over the middle. The pass is complete for a first down.
Jock Climby on the reception, running a crossing route over the middle, being covered by linebacker James West. James West is a great athlete, but he's not good enough to run with Jock Climby one-on-one over the field. You'll see Tommy Burgess feeling a little bit of unsettledness in the pocket there, but hits Jock Climby as he's sliding on the turf, and Jock looked like he might have got his leg twisted right at the middle of the play. Andre Francis working very hard against Stephon Jones, but Stephon's broken loose just a little bit before the end of the play there.
Jock Climby, the injured Ottawa player, the second injury the Riders have suffered so far tonight.
Get me out of here.
Jock Climby seemed to slip in his zone as he made his cut and got into his pattern, and that could be due to the rain that fell all day yesterday here at Frank Clair Stadium.
You'll see Climby coming across the middle as he's coming in right here, and the toe gets caught right there and turns it just a little bit, just enough a snag in the turf there, and he gets the knee twisted.
Turf toe has been a problem with the Ottawa Rough Riders this year. They have a lot of players out with that injury. Sean Daniels on the receiving end. He struggled trying to get a first down, was brought down by Eddie Taylor. James Ellingson into the ball game, replacing Jock Climby at a slot back spot.
Well, that's one of the things that Burgess is going to have to do. He's going to have to utilize his backs coming out of the backfield. And Daniel leads all the backs in receptions with 22 coming into this game, and not a bad receiver, a big young fullback coming out of the backfield. And that time he did an excellent job of catching that, turning it up for 8 yards.
Jock Climby this year, 705 passing yards, on pace for a career season. So the Riders are hoping he won't be out long. Throw deep for Walker, incomplete. Burgess wound up and fired deep for Wayne Walker. And he was in a foot race with Bruce Plummer and Tom Europe, and Burgess just overthrew him.
Not a bad call in that situation, Don. You got second and short. Tommy Burgess, being the veteran quarterback that he is, felt that he had an opportunity to get Walker, the most fleetest of their receivers that they feel, behind the coverage. And he had 2 steps on the secondary on that play, just a yard overthrown by Burgess.
So on 3rd and 1, the Ottawa Rough Riders are going to gamble. They're just slightly below the league average in their success rate. Burgess will keep, and he will get the first down.
Ottawa has to make things happen in this situation. You got a team that's 2-7. You have to take every opportunity you can trying to get into the end zone, and that's what Ron Smeltzer's doing by making these type of play calls.
And you saw the man standing beside Smeltzer, assistant coach Mike Roach. He has replaced Dave Ritchie as the defensive coordinator with the Ottawa Rough Riders. But at the moment, it's the offense that the coaching staff is focused on. This is a different formation. All four lined up behind Burgess, and the pitch goes to Darren Joseph. Joseph trying to turn the corner, and he is cut down by Andre Francis.
Well, you can't stretch this BC defense from sideline to sideline. They have great pursuit by their linebackers on that play. And that was a perfect example. Joseph trying to get to the sideline, but when you're running stride for stride, they'll catch you.
Statistically, this is the way the Rough Riders shape up at the midpoint this year compared to last year. And they're about 360 yards shy of, or 50 yards shy of what they were at this point a year ago. Second down pass over the middle, incomplete. It was intended for Shavers. Shavers protesting that he was interfered with. But Plummer and Europe combined for pretty good coverage.
Good coverage by the secondary, but to touch back on that point you were talking about, Don, statistically, that 350 yards basically is within the running game. Reggie Barnes, a veteran running back, had gained 3,600 yards over the prior 3 seasons here in Ottawa, was released after the first game of the season, after the team's first victory. From that point, they went 8 games without a victory. You know, could that have been significant in those team losses when they lost by 1 and 3-point on a couple occasions?
Terry Baker's first punt sailed 44 yards. There's a little rush on this second attempt. Lonnie Turner takes it at the 19. And Turner is surrounded almost immediately. 6:45 remaining in a scoreless opening quarter at Frank Clair Stadium. A 39-yard punt by Baker and a 1-yard return.
Joe Sardo down on the coverage on that punt, also filling in for Gord Weber at linebacker, but not only that, but a great specialty team player also.
6:45 remaining in the quarter, and the Ottawa Rough Riders have lost 4 by 9 points this year. Scott?
Well, Don, they're 2-7, but really there is a fine line between a good and a bad season for them. As you say, they've lost 4 by a combined total of 9 points, 2 of those by a single point. So win the close ones. The Riders are 6-3, not talking about firings, hirings, and comebacks and all the things they've had to deal with for 2 weeks now.
Danny Barrett's in trouble. He tried to flip it away underhanded for Matt Clark. But with Glenn Kalk on your back, it's pretty difficult to be very accurate in throwing the football overhand or underhand.
Great move by Glenn Kalk on that play to get at Danny Barrett. He's playing the nose. He's moved inside from outside last year, which they feel is a more natural position. You see him coming around on a stunt, able to get his arms wrapped around Barrett. Barrett did a tremendous job just getting that ball away with all that weight and pressure on his back. But Kalk, you can see, is a tremendous athlete, one of the strongest players in the entire league, Don.
Kalka got his arms on Barrett, was not about to let go.
And Barrett is down after that. And he got driven into the turf mighty hard by Glenn Kalk on that play, and looked like they're going to have to bring in Danny McManus on this series now.
Well, Barrett will have to go to the sidelines for at least 3 plays.
Well, you'll see Cokley as he's just on top of like a pile driver right into the turf. You know, all his weight is up on the upper part of his body, and he goes face first into the turf. Looked like he might have suffered a cut or something on that situation.
265 pounds, most of it resting up in the shoulder area of Danny Barrett, and he came down heavily on top of Barrett. Danny McManus with the left hand taped. He suffered a very serious hand injury in a game against Winnipeg. Coach Ritchie was upset the way McManus was thrown down in the game against Winnipeg. I believe it was by linebacker Corian Freeman, and he had to have a plate inserted into his left hand. He suffered a broken bone, so Coach Ritchie was saying he couldn't finish and continue against Winnipeg because he couldn't handle the exchange from center. But with the plate inserted, he should be okay.
Well, the situation with this last play with Cochla, they're going to have to protect McManus better than what they did with Barrett. You'll see Cochla lining up here on the nose, and he'll come around and he'll chase Barrett out towards the sideline. As Barrett gets ready to set up, you know, you'll see it. You got Cochla here, he's coming around on the stunt. Barrett sets in the pocket, he rushes him out, and he grabs him right there, and he's down.
Second and 10. Danny McManus replacing Danny Barrett. McManus throws for Flutie, and Flutie is going to be stopped about 3 yards shy of the first down by Charles Gordon.
That's sometimes a problem you have when a backup quarterbacks come in. He doesn't know where the ball is on the field at all times, and that time he did all he could to get the ball off, but it came up short of the first down.
McManus, of course, was the architect of the BC Lions' victory over the Edmonton Eskimos, 39-23 on August the 7th. Barrett, as you suggested, James, appears to have suffered a cut just above his eye. Again, just one man back for this third down punt by Lou Pasaglia. Another fine kick by the veteran punter. Stanley takes it at the 32. He gets one block. And he stumbled up to the 47-yard line. Stopped there by Sean Millington with 5:19 remaining in the first quarter.
Well, there's certainly no shortage of coaches here in Ottawa these days. On the advice of consultant J.I. Albrecht, the Riders hired 2 guest coaches this week, so there is standing room only in the spotters box at Frank Clair Stadium. George Brancato, former Rider head coach, and John Salvantis were the 2 men hired. They're at press box level, standing behind these fellows. Harry Jusvig, the offensive coordinator. Larry Hogue, a defensive coach. Jusvig was fingered by the owners for what they thought were some bad coaching decisions in the past 2 weeks. And if you're following all this, it's the sort of stuff that's been standard fare in the nation's capital for a few weeks. The Gleibermans, who own the team, do want to fix things. The question is, with consultant and guest coach hirings and the imminent return of Dexter Manley, have there been too many distractions to allow for clear focus on football? Ron Smeltzer says his team's still together, Don, and will put the question of distractions to Bernie Gleiberman, chairman of the board, on Live at the Half.
Well, they almost have enough coaches they can handle the players one-on-one.
Well, just a few too many ideas sometimes can be distracting to a ball club. And that's one of the things that's been bothersome to the players. Too many different outside people coming in with suggestions on what's going wrong. Stick with what you've done, hone that down to a finer skill, and get some productivity out of that.
Well, Ron Smeltzer, I think, told the owners of the Rough Riders this past week that he wanted some clarification of his status with this organization, and I think he feels satisfied that they provided that for him. He is the head coach, in control. Don Burgess really hasn't been in control so far in the football game. He's having difficulty. He's under pressure every time he drops back to throw. His first attempt incomplete, intended for Stefan Jones on this series, and his most recent throw for Sean Daniels, also incomplete. He was being pressured by Zach Allen.
Well, the last time these two teams met, Burgess was 20 for 40 for 345 yards, 2 touchdowns, but he had 2 critical interceptions. That was the difference in the ball game, and he needs to cut down on that in tonight's contest.
Again, just one man back. Lonnie Turner is deep, and now Flutie drops back. He's not nearly as deep as Turner. Turner handles it. It draws a penalty flag. There was a member of the Rough Rider cover team trapped within the 5-yard area. Former BC Lion Kirkland Cummings is the man who was flagged with the penalty call after a 34-yard punt. Scott?
Don, on the Lions bench, some good news as the vision of quarterback Danny Barrett just coming back into focus. And his problem was when he left the field injured, he got a finger in the eye, his contact lens popped out. They put it back in, and he'll be back as soon as his vision clears up. On the Ottawa side of the field, bad news for Gord Weber. He's torn his anterior cruciate ligament in his right knee. That's the major ligament. Will require some surgery to have it reattached, and his season is over. So abject disappointment, Don, for a Canadian linebacker who'd worked worked himself into a starting position.
Well, being a former defensive lineman, I would say that Glenn Coker accidentally got his finger in Danny Baird's eye.
Yeah, I think you can relate to those sorts of things, can't you, James? Pass is incomplete, intended for Corey Philpott. He was being covered by Ron Getz.
Well, that time he had the perfect matchup that McManus wanted. McManus with a little sidestep to his left, got Philpott one-on-one on a linebacker, just went right through Philpott's hands. A lack of concentration. That's one of the reasons Coach Ritchie had been upset during the week, that he didn't feel that his players were concentrating on the game the way he felt that they should.
3:53 remaining in the opening quarter. It is still scoreless. And there has not been much offense so far in this football game. 4 receivers come wide left for the Lions. McManus throws deep for Trevathan. He's got it down to the 37-yard line.
Big play by McManus right there, sitting back in the pocket. All sorts of time by his offensive line. This offensive line has only given up 16 sacks coming into tonight's contest. You see McManus sitting in very comfortably, finding Trevathan running down the middle of the field, getting inside of Young on the inside hash for the big play.
A gain of 38 yards.
Vic Stevens, last year's runner-up, the Shinley winner. Rob Smith, both playing on the same team this year. Angelo Snipe, the sack leader, didn't even get close to McManus on that play.
McManus sends 4 receivers wide left. Now Trevathan comes over to the right side. McManus from the shotgun over the middle, intended for Trevathan. It's intercepted. Picked off by Brett Young.
Little return of favor on that play by Brett Young, who had been victimized the play before by Trevathan. McManus feeling the pressure from the Ottawa defensive front, got rid of that a little quicker than what he wanted to and let it go a little high, and it sailed, and Brett Young with the acrobatic interception, tipping it with one hand, bringing it to his body before he hit the ground. Just a great play by the Ottawa defender.
Tremendous concentration on the part of Brett Young as he had to go up high and juggle the football to bring it in.
And that's the type of plays they need from their defense. Hopefully it will give their offense some inspiration, because they've been struggling. Last week scored only 1 offensive touchdown against Toronto, and that was in the last 8 seconds of the ball game.
Well, they talk about the number of players that have gone from Ottawa to BC. There's a player who's gone the other way. Darren Joseph will pick up about 3 yards before being brought down just shy of the 20-yard line by Ty Jones and Zoc Allen.
Well, Ty Jones has picked up his play level in the past couple of weeks. Last week had a pretty decent game. Zoc Allen, young inside linebacker, BC feels very highly about. You see him flow, great flow and concentration, getting down the line of scrimmage, stepping back inside to knock Joseph off his feet.
Texas A&I grad, Zoc Allen, playing an inside linebacking position. O.J. Brigance got a piece of Burgess as he was coming on the blitz. The ball popped away. It was recovered by Burgess. He lost it again. Tim Lorenz claims he's got it, but the play had been whistled dead.
Well, Ottawa playing with one of those rarities, an American offensive lineman, Graybill at left tackle. O.J. Brigance this time working on him, coming around the corner, getting a hand on the ball as he goes past Tommy Burgess to knock it loose. Scribner was able to clean up on the sack on the play and force Ottawa into a punting situation.
O.J. Brigance leads the CFL in sacks. He is having a tremendous year.
Has an even dozen after the first quarter tonight, Don, and that's a tremendous first half of the season.
This time, Lonnie Turner is the lone man back for the BC Lions as Baker kicks from the end zone, and he got it away just in time. Turner is chased back to his own 47. Turner gets to the sidelines with a couple of blocks and is wrestled down out of bounds by Richards. That was the only man Turner had to beat, and Richards did a fine job of holding his ground on the sidelines.
Great return on that play by Lonnie Turner. You'll see him letting his blocking set up in front of him. He makes a move to the left, brings it back to the right, and he gets a seam, and he cuts up inside. He gets to the sideline. Another tremendous block by Donovan Wright on that play as he takes it up the sideline. One mistake. He might have wanted to bring that back towards the middle of the field. He had a lane, and he was driven out of bounds at the 33-yard line.
Excellent field position for the next offensive series for the Lions with 57 seconds remaining in the opening quarter. They are 1st and 10 from the 33 of Ottawa. McManus throws the quick out to Trevathan, and Trevathan will be close to a 1st down. And he also stepped out of bounds to stop the clock.
Well, a good play that time by McManus, the quick hitch. Force that Ottawa defense to come up, get those defensive backs a little closer to the line of scrimmage. Then you come with that stop and go and get a receiver behind him and lay it out for him.
McManus looking over to the sidelines to Joe Paupow, the former quarterback with the BC Lions and now the offensive coordinator, calls all the plays, whether it's Danny McManus or Danny Barrett at quarterback.
Well, two of the young, fine offensive minds in the CFL. Joe Paupow is one of them, along with
John Huffnagel
in Calgary.
Now, you should be familiar with every quarterback.
Well, I'm familiar with those guys, and like them, I've gotten old myself, and sometimes things don't always click that quick.
Penalty flag on the play. It looks like a holding call against BC.
Holding, BC number 55. Repeat 1st down.
Ian Sinclair, who's had a rough first half of the season. I mean, Ian has been noted for the first part of the season, getting his name called quite often in some telecasts, and it's no exception tonight. He wanted to be spotted out very early.
In the victory over the Edmonton Eskimos, a number of runs were wiped out by 4 holding penalties against Ian Sinclair. Millington to the 15-yard line, about 3 short of a 1st down, taking the screen pass, and Greg Stuman was able to catch up with him and take his legs out from under him.
Well, Millington has been quite a surprise this year for the BC Lions. Matter of fact, he even has their longest touchdown reception of the year, a 70-yarder from Danny Barrett in that Toronto game when Barrett set the passing record of 601 yards. That time circling out of the backfield, a safety valve for McManus, getting the ball down to the 15.
2nd and 3, the ball at the 15. This should be the final play of the opening quarter. Handoff to Millington, he'll score. What a gaping hole he had to drive through. Rob Smith, the left guard, came out and pulled around the right side to lead the way.
Doing that inside trap play, Rob Smith, last year's outstanding lineman as an Ottawa Rough Rider in the CFL, pulling from his left guard position on a trap play. Sean Millington getting the counter handoff for McManus, walking right through that gaping hole, Don. You'll see Rob Smith as he pulls from his guard position, runs a convoy for Millington, who just walks into the end zone for the opening score of the game.
So Lou Pasaglia adds the point after. And the BC Lions at the end of the 1st quarter lead it by a score of 7-0. We'll be back with the 2nd quarter in the BC kickoff after this. We're getting set to start the 2nd quarter, and you may be wondering about the time clock showing 14:46. The touchdown was scored on the final play of the opening quarter. So rather than change ends to kick the convert, they let the clock run, and the BC Lions kicked the convert at the same end of the field, and they took 14 seconds off the clock. So they're playing a 14:46 2nd quarter in reality.
A little shorter time. But Don, you spoke about BC probably having the finest offensive line in the CFL this season, and it was an example of it on that touchdown play when you had Rob Smith leading the convoy for Sean Millington coming around, and you'll see him go in perfect blocking, perfect execution by the offensive line, getting him outside for that touchdown. Just a gaping hole, and he walks right into the end zone for the 6 points afterwards.
I said in describing the play that Rob Smith led the blocking. He really didn't have anybody to hit.
Well, he was there leading, and nobody wanted to show up. You know, but that's one of the things when you're losing, it happens. Players are out of position, and that was an example of it with the Ottawa Rough Riders defense.
Here comes the pressure. Ottawa picks it up. Burgess throws deep for Walker. He's got it. What a catch!
Tremendous concentration by Walker on that play. Tommy Burgess needed a big play like that to get his team out of the hole. He dropped back. The offensive line for once gave him perfect protection. You'll see Walker working one-on-one with Les Brown, the all-time interception leader in the CFL. Not bad coverage by Brown, but Walker just gets the separation right at the end. Perfect concentration to haul that one in. Maybe a little face mask on the end that Brown got away with, but big play by Walker. The Riders needed that, and they're down to the 20.
48 yards on the pass completion to Wayne Walker, who goes to the bench and is replaced by Frank Stanley. 1st and 10. Ottawa, the ball at the 20 of the BC Lions. Burgess throws into the end zone. Incomplete. Stephan Jones attempted to get to it. He was battling with Andre Francis in trying to get into position to haul in the Burgess throw. Statistically, there wasn't much in the first quarter of the football game. 8 net yards for Ottawa, but they got a lot of it back early in this second quarter on the 48-yard strike from Burgess to Wayne Walker. 89 net yards for the BC Lions, and they, of course, have the only touchdown and the only points of the football game thus far. From the shotgun, end zone, Jock climbing. No, penalty flag in the play. Eddie Taylor is flagged in the end zone, and this should be 1st and goal from the 1, Ottawa.
Well, that's the only chance that Eddie Taylor had on the play. BC came with an all-out blitz up the middle, West in the middle. Scribner broke loose on the outside. Burgess had to step around him and was able to get the ball off. Climbing had got behind Taylor, and Taylor
Number 17 in the end zone. 1st down at the 1.
A big break for the Riders, because Smeltzer felt that his team was having a lot of problems scoring once they got inside the red zone, and that was a perfect example, being at the 20, starting, to try to get into the end zone for the touchdown. But now that the 1, they have to let that running game come alive and be able to punch this in.
One of Smeltzer's concerns is that he felt in the first half of the season his team was too intent in trying to put it into the end zone right away rather than going for first downs when they got into scoring territory.
Well, you have Tommy Burgess on this incident trying to sneak it in from the 1. The defense is right there coming, barreling underneath, trying to reestablish the line of scrimmage. You got the 2 big running backs. Give them the ball and let them take it in.
Tim Lorenz into the ball game, and he and Derek McCready trying to submarine the offensive line and stack up the quarterback, Tom Burgess. 2nd and goal from the 1. Burgess will carry again. No signal.
Once again, Burgess comes up short. You got that defensive line submarining underneath, and they're getting off the ball a little more aggressive than the Otto offensive line at this point. Now you have to go for it on the 3rd down situation. You cannot settle for a field goal right here, Don.
Yeah, when you get 3 shots at it from the 1, you want to put it in the end zone.
But a very critical play call here. Do you roll out? Do you give it to a running back? Or do you try to sneak it?
That's why Ron Smeltzer is standing over on the other side of the field.
But Zach Allen here makes a tremendous play coming over the top of the line of scrimmage, getting Tommy Burgess before he can get his steam up to get over the line of scrimmage.
Burgess tries again. No, they didn't get in. There is no signal. They did not get in, and the BC Lions defensive unit is celebrating. What a goal line stand by the BC Lions.
Tremendous play by the Lions defense. When you look at that, 3 plays from the 1 and does not allow a touchdown.
11:26 remaining in the first half. Winners.
Well, James West on that major stop of the Riders in the goal line stand. He plays with speed and strength that belies his age. He's 36. Here's the replay. West on the leading edge of holding the Riders out early in the season. In Winnipeg, he broke his thumb, has since had a pin inserted. He's played most of the season with a huge cast on. Now it's down to a splint. Naturally resist the temptation to use it as a battering ram. Even managed an interception last week, and that may have been an even bigger play for him. O.J. Brigant's been having an excellent season, but it's likely fair to say that West is the heart and soul of the Lions defense.
I think that's a fair statement, Scott, and we could also point out that West has the other hand taped. He broke a bone in his other hand last week. So not only does he have a pin and has had surgery in a broken bone in his left hand, he has now broken a bone in his right hand, and that's the reason he has both hands taped.
Getting a little fragile in his older years as a player. But back to Ottawa, you got two running backs in the backfield. You got Sean Daniels at 235 pounds, Darren Joseph at 210 pounds, yet you have a 190-pound quarterback in Tommy Burgess trying to sneak the ball into the end zone.
Trevathan is just shy of a first down. McManus keeps.
I don't know if he made it. He was red on that play. Remember, Robertson that time came across and just leveled Danny McManus on that play. He got his shoulder up under his chin and laid him on his back. And that's something when you're as a quarterback, you got to get down under those offensive linemen. You cannot stand up high, and Robertson made him pay for it on that last play.
Backup quarterback Terrence Jones trying to assist the officials. He said he lost 2 yards. Let's see how accurate he is in viewing the play from the sidelines. Better not buy real estate from that man.
No, he good eyesight is from 60 yards away is not a forte of anyone.
It is a first down for the BC Lions.
And they just made it by the skin of their teeth because Robinson did a tremendous job on that play of coming across from his left defensive end position, and McManus knows that he's on the field tonight. If he had a sinus problem, it's been taken care of.
A six-back, 3 receivers to either side. McManus has to hurry the throw. It's intercepted. Picked up by Joe Fuller to the 9-yard line.
Joe Fuller inserted back into the lineup here tonight and doing a tremendous job just playing the zone back there right in the middle of the field. Danny McManus feeling the pressure coming from his backside. Joe Fuller having an open field to look over. You see McManus being drilled in the back. Fuller sitting right there wide open and just surveying the field. Snipes coming around with the pressure, trying to get in. He's had a tough early part of the season. Vic Stevens along with Leo Groundwigan stepping up to meet him at the line of scrimmage. McManus, Sardo right in the back with his helmet, not where a quarterback wants to be hit at.
The ball at the 10-yard line. Handoff to Joseph. He fights his way to the 5. 9:28 remaining in the second quarter.
The proper thing to do, give the ball to your running backs when you're inside the red zone, especially inside the 10-yard line. Ottawa just had the ball first and goal 3 plays in a row from the 1. They reluctant to give the ball to a running back. Will they do it 3 plays in a row here from the 10?
Stephan Jones goes wide right. Joseph is the lone man behind quarterback Tom Burgess. Burgess lobs it into the end zone for Walker. He's got it. Wayne Walker, who played 2 games last year with Ottawa late in the season, got in behind Les Brown to bring the Ottawa Rough Riders to within 1.
Well, Walker did a tremendous job of getting separation. Tommy Burgess with that touch pass on a fade, corner fade to Walker, just laying it out perfectly, letting Walker run under it right in the corner of the end zone, put Ottawa on the scoreboard with their first touchdown of the evening. They only scored 1 last week, Don, and that was in the last 10 seconds of the game. They've gotten 1 tonight in the second quarter.
Terry Baker lines up and deadlocks this game at 7. 8:38 remaining in the first half. We'll be back with the Ottawa kickoff after this. Well, 2 teams that thrive on defense have come up with some solid defensive plays in the first half of the football game. A goal line stand by the BC Lions and a pass interception by Joe Fuller, giving Ottawa a second opportunity to put it in the end zone, and they capitalized. Wayne Walker on the receiving end of a Tom Burgess throw. Philpott starts on the kickoff return from his own 6. He has the ability to make people miss, and he gets up to the 35.
Well, he has a long return of 91 yards this year, and Philpott, you know, anytime he gets his hand on the ball, has an opportunity to break a big one.
27-yard run back by Philpott.
We'll get Walker one-on-one on Les Brown out in the left corner. Tommy Burgess dropping straight back. Quick 3-step drop, fading out is Walker in the corner, brings it in for the 6.
Les Brown, who leads the CFL in interceptions, has only picked off 2 this year. And he was saying that he has found quarterbacks don't throw too often in his area.
That happens when you get a reputation.
McManus remains at quarterback. The toss to Corey Philpott. There's a penalty flag upfield.
On the backside of the play, but Tommy Burgess really needed that touchdown pass to get his confidence settled back under his feet, because he's been having some trouble the last couple games, and maybe that'll settle him down and get him back in that leadership role with this ball club.
Legal substitution.
Too many men,
I should say. 13
Ottawa.
of them out there.
First down.
And John Kropke.
Well, this is a night in which we have 6 hours of CBC sports programming. It's fresh, it's new, it's no waiting at all, folks, because as soon as we're done here at Frank Clair Stadium, we'll send you to California, where the Blue Jays play the California Angels in Game 3 of their 4-game series. Yankees won today, Don, so the Jays have to win to maintain their 2-game lead.
Lonnie Turner on a reverse. He's got first down to the 48-yard line. Brought down by Joe Fuller. Not only did the Yankees win today, but Jim Abbott tossed a no-hitter for the Yankees.
Jim Abbott's a remarkable athlete in himself. We look at the Lions coming with a little razzle-dazzle. Philpott flipping it back to Lonnie Turner, who's coming around, waiting on a block from his offensive lineman. Rob Smith has to make the decision to go get the defensive back, but great pursuit by Joe Fuller. You're getting blocks from everyone. Trevathan right here, receiver coming back with a good block downfield. And that's what you have to make a reverse work. You got to get your receivers in action on those.
First and 10, the ball is at the 49. Over the head of Flutie. He was being covered by Fuller. It will be second and 10.
Great pressure from Stuman on that play, though. Forced McManus to get rid of that a little early. Angelo Snipes has been frustrated all night long. He has not been able to get any pressure on the BC quarterbacks. Coming into this game with only 6, working on Vic Stevenson on the left tackle on his play. Vic getting a little paw inside there. Offensive linemen sometimes get that hand stuck in the jersey. Not that he's meaning to hold him, but it happens.
This one is batted down at the line of scrimmage. I think Colton may have hit the throw from McManus, and it bounced high in the air. Unfortunately for the BC Lions, fell harmlessly down.
What you're seeing right now is the Ottawa defense that Dave Ritchie designed. Maybe they want to put on a show for their former mentor. You'll see Glenn Kokla getting his hand up, but the ball actually hit him in the top of the helmet on that play. But the defense for Ottawa has arisen to the occasion here in the second quarter.
6:40 remaining in the second quarter. 7-7, Ottawa and BC. Pasaglia has his third down punt, bounce in front of Stanley, and Stanley had nowhere to go, and there is also a penalty flag, likely a no yards infraction against BC.
Ball taken by Walter Stanley.
The Ottawa Rough Riders haven't scored a lot of points this season. As a matter of fact, only the Hamilton Ticats have scored fewer, and the BC Lions this year have scored 104 points more than the Ottawa Rough Riders, but tonight they've been limited to the same number, each with 1 touchdown. Darren Joseph battles his way to the 20-yard line, a gain of about 2.5.
Trying to do something just a little bit different here, trying to establish a running game, Ottawa is tonight, because that's been the sore part of their offense. Joseph running straight up the middle. You got the big offensive line in front of him. Graybill here working on Scrivener, doing a tremendous job. Scrivener is not allowing him to get him pushed off the line of scrimmage. Great job by the front of the BC Lions on the play.
Burgess from the shotgun. Looks to the sidelines. The pass is complete to Walker, and that will be a Ottawa first down. He made the catch in front of Andre Francis.
Burgess showing excellent mobility, getting out of the pocket, rolling to his right, but Walker does what you expect of a receiver. Work back towards the quarterback, get that separation from the defensive back to make the reception. The offensive line is giving him time inside. The BC Lions are working very hard up front, but they're staying right with their men, not allowing them to get the pressure on Burgess.
The toss to Joseph. Joseph cuts back inside, and then he in turn is cut down by James West.
Well, West, as you said, has been playing steady all year long. They feel he's the heart of the defense, that veteran leadership that you look for, and James has not let him down at all, playing with injuries and all. He's the leader out there, night in, night out.
We talked about the injury and the operation he had to the thumb on his right hand. Well, he has since suffered an injury to the wrist of his left hand, but he hasn't even had it x-rayed yet.
Just one tough individual.
Burgess throws deep for James Ellingson, incomplete. He was being covered by Eddie Taylor. And the Ottawa Rough Riders are forced to send out their punting unit. The Duke, as he is appropriately nicknamed, just couldn't quite catch up with the throw from Tom Burgess.
Can he play the piano as well? You look at Brigance here working very hard trying to get on Burgess. Burgess showing a lot of arm strength tonight, but Brigance is being taken to the ground, and Burgess gets outside. Brigance loses contain, and Scribner comes a little late and gives Burgess an extra little shot at the end of that play.
4:08 remaining. The game tied at 7 in the first half. Lonnie Turner trying to take it on the run. He had a little problem handling the football. Now he gets a block inside and gets a return to the 48 before being brought down by Mike Graybill. Scott?
Don, we've got man-to-man coverage in all the games in the CFL this weekend. Tomorrow will be at Taylor Field in Regina for the annual Labor Day weekend matchup with the Bombers and Riders. Big news there is the Riders will have a second consecutive sellout, so suddenly things are looking good in Saskatchewan. And on Live at the Half tonight, we'll be joined by a Riders owner, that's Eastern Riders owner, Bernie Gleiberman, to talk to us about how he's trying to fix what's wrong with his team. A circus atmosphere here, they say, but I don't think the Gleibermans are laughing. And we'll also head out to Regina for a preview of tomorrow's game.
A big home-and-home series involving the Bombers and the Rough Riders, and it's great to see another sellout crowd, better than 30,000 expected at Taylor Field tomorrow. Alexander is open at the 25.
Lions start from their 48.
He had to battle for position with Joe Fuller, and the BC receiver won the battle.
And the ball was a little underthrown on the play, but the one plus the receiver always has is he's looking at the ball all the time. The defensive back is chasing. You'll see McManus get sets up. The ball sort of slips out of his hand. Alexander has to come back and wait on it. Fuller got turned around and was beaten on the play.
An experienced receiver showing that experience, coming back to the football when he saw that it was being underthrown with 3:02 remaining in the half. The Riders and the BC Lions deadlocked at 7 with 3:02 remaining in the first half, but it's first and 10 for BC from the 25 of the Ottawa Rough Riders. Danny McManus has completed 6 of 11 attempts for 120 yards. But he has already had 2 passes picked off by the Rough Riders.
And he only had 1 interception coming into tonight's contest versus 5 touchdowns.
McManus looks to the end zone, and Clark can't catch up with him.
Just off the fingertips of Matt Clark on that play. McManus, with a tremendous amount of time, his offensive line did a great job on that play. Now allowing the pressure to get to him, he had time to check off to his second and third receiver, and Clark was his third receiver on the play, and just off of Clark's fingertips.
Second and 10 from the 25.
What is it? What's it made of?
This time Lonnie Turner goes wide to the left. Alexander lines up to the right. From the shotgun, McManus rolls left, gets a block, throws back into the middle. Lonnie Turner gets to the 5.
McManus getting himself a little bit of extra time, rolling out to his left. Snipes taking an inside move, losing contain on the play, allowing McManus to get outside freely. Vic Stevenson able to pick him up with Lonnie Turner curling to the inside. Joe Fuller overruns the play, gets the ball down inside the 10 to the 6-yard line.
Corey Philpott comes into the ball game as Lonnie Turner goes out. First and goal, BC from the 5. Hand off inside to Millington for a pickup of about 2.
trying that same inside trap play that they scored on in the first quarter with Rob Smith pulling around. That time, a few players stayed at home and was able to stop Millington after gaining only a couple on the play.
2:15 remaining in the half.
Pick up
Adams
of
looks
two
back
or
to the
a little
bench
more.
to Joe Paopao.
Ball is now just inside the 3-yard line.
Dave Ritchie leaves the offensive scheme in the hands of Joe Paopao.
Very capable hands also.
Second and goal from the 3. Inside, Millington, touchdown.
Sean Millington again, the ball carrier.
That play has been bread and butter for the Lions. Inside trap once again following Rob Smith. Millington going to 3 yards for his second touchdown of the night. You'll see Rob Smith pulling around from his left guard. Millington right off his hip, cut back inside, was in the end zone before being brought down by Kropke on the play.
So the BC Lions regain the lead on Sean Millington's second touchdown of the night. Lou Pasaglia will attempt to add the convert from the hold of Darren Flutie. (14-7). Dave Ritchie's team out in front. Ritchie, the former defensive coordinator with the Ottawa Rough Riders, and in his first year as head coach of the BC Lions, admits that the team is in better shape at the midpoint of the season than he thought they would be when the year began.
Well, better shape in a couple ways. Victory-wise, Don, and they're healthy this year. If you recall last year, the BC Lions were hit with a multitude of injuries which really decimated the ball club, and they just couldn't recover from it. Every time they thought they had another player coming back, they would generally lose 1 or 2 more, and you just can't play consistent football when you're having 2 and 3 player lineup changes every week. And this year he's been fortunate in having had to make those changes.
This is the second game of this week in the CFL. Edmonton sneaking past Sacramento on Thursday night by a score of 13-12. Tomorrow, Winnipeg is at Saskatchewan, and then the 2 Labor Day Classics, Toronto at Hamilton and Edmonton at Calgary.
Great coverage by Ryan Hansen on that play. Ryan came down virtually untouched and was able to make the stop on the play on Patrick Burke. Good coverage by the BC Lions specialty teams after the touchdown.
A 58-yard kickoff, and Burke was only able to return it 13 yards with 1:50 remaining in the half.
Just outside their own 30.
Tommy Burgess has to come out and not be rattled at this with just a couple minutes to go in the second quarter. He has to move the ball down the field, get a couple of first downs at least.
He has plenty of time. He doesn't want to be impatient and try to go for it all at once. He tried to find Jock Climby underneath. He threw the ball behind him. Climby was being covered by James West.
A moment of indecision, though, right there, Don. He was thinking about, looked like he might have been thinking about running that football. Then all of a sudden he saw Climby break just at the last second and tried to get the ball to him, but it was behind him by a stride.
2nd and 10. Unlike BC, Burgess is responsible for his own play selection. He operates from the shotgun. This time he's in trouble, and he won't get a chance to throw. O.J. Brigant supplied the initial pressure, and then Ty Jones came over to help out.
Tim Lorenz right in there around Burgess's waist. Also a coverage sack, basically, because Burgess just could not find a receiver open downfield, and that pocket collapsed around him, and Ty Jones and Tim Lorenz were in there to mop him up on the play.
Coach Ritchie was saying that against Tom Burgess, he would try and play basically a zone defense. He said if you try and play man-to-man against him, he'll cut your heart out.
He will. Tommy will lay that ball up and let receivers run on it. He'll put it in areas on the field, and they work a lot on that man-to-man coverage.
Excellent kick by Baker. This sails all the way down to the 18-yard line, and Turner picked it up there, and he stopped at the 31. 1:13 remaining in the half. Scott?
Well, done in a small league like the CFL, players the league over are close, and here's a very good example. Most of the Lions linebacking core, a lot of their defense wearing number 30 on their tape, on their ankles tonight. James West is. Number 30 stands for Kenton Leonard, a defensive back with the Calgary Stampeders, who has befallen with a terrible tragedy last night. His wife died in the early hours of the morning. Leonard's gone home to Louisiana to grieve and, of course, bury his wife. But James West says they're a close bunch in this league. In fact, when he came off the field, having made that huge stop of Tom Burgess on the goal line stand, he was screaming, "That one's for you, Kenton, that one's for you." And I'm sure Kenton Leonard, when he hears about it, will appreciate the show of support.
Penalty flag in the play. Kenton Leonard earlier this year had serious health problems with his son. I think he had to leave training camp and head back home.
His son, 5 years old, had suffered a stroke, and he's been hit with a rash of serious problems. And all our warmth and sympathy goes out to the Leonard family this evening, and, you know, to pull strong with him through this tragedy that he's going through.
Procedure, BC number 53, still first down.
Groenwegen, the right guard, not set on the play and got flagged for the 5-yard penalty.
That third down punt by Terry Baker was a beauty and one they needed at the time, a 58-yard kick.
Great defensive play by Baker to push back the Lions offense.
Inside screen is intercepted by Crofty. Angelo Snipes deflected it, and an alert John Crofty picked it off.
McManus trying to run the little slip screen right in the middle to Millington, but Ottawa did not get enough penetration on the play for their favor on that situation, and McManus threw the ball low and threw it right into an Ottawa defender. Angelo Snipes getting his hand up, and Crofty batting the ball around along with Greg Steuben, able to pull it in for the interception on the play. Ottawa has great field position at the 24-yard line.
Crofty is credited with the interception, but it was Angelo Snipes who really made the play by batting the ball out of the air. The third time in this half that McManus has been intercepted, and Ottawa has a chance to go to the dressing room on even terms. Joseph drives to the 21 with 1:02 remaining in the half.
Play selection sometime for Ottawa is a bit different from what you would normally expect in certain situations. You get the ball inside the 24 on a turnover, you're trying to run ball, or do you try to strike quickly? Normally that'd be the norm of the CFL, to strike quickly, roll out, get outside the pocket, find a receiver downfield.
The Lions have 3 Canadian down linemen. Kent Warnock is out of there now. Tim Lorenz is in. As a matter of fact, Tim Lorenz has been playing a fair bit of this first half. Burgess is caught from behind by Derek McCready. Managed to throw just as he was being hauled down. And it's ruled an incomplete pass.
And that defensive line of the Lions tonight has been doing a tremendous job of getting pressure on Tommy Burgess. They're playing the 3-down lineman, and McCready playing on the tackle position, coming in, getting the pressure along with Ty Jones, forcing Burgess to get rid of that, and he was just saving a sack on that play, and McCready has to feel very good about his performance so far tonight.
So Terry Baker will be attempting a field goal from 28 yards out with 41 seconds remaining in the first half. The kick is good. Didn't put it in the end zone as they had initially hoped after the interception by Crofty, but they don't come away empty-handed.
They don't, and it's a plus for them to get the 3 points on the play, to come up with the turnover and get something out of it. And that's the key in the CFL. You have to get points out of turnovers, and the Rough Riders hadn't been that successful on it this year, but that time they come away with 3.
Remember, at the half, Scott will be talking with the president of the Ottawa Rough Riders, Bernie Gleberman.
You know, Don, coming into this game, as you spoke about, McManus had only thrown 1 interception. The Riders came into this game last in the league in takeaways. This half, they've got 3 interceptions alone off McManus, and 3 points just resulted from 1 of them.
I believe I identified Bernie as the president. He's actually the chairman. Lonnie is the president. Alexander is open. Alexander bounced out of bounds by Patrick Burke. And a non-player, I think, it could be a cameraman, was really hit hard.
Well, just a unfortunate incident, a cameraman trying to get a great shot of a play that time of Alexander and Burke. Alexander getting the separation on Burke. As you spoke about, a veteran receiver knowing where he is on the field, working that deep outright route on Burke, and McManus with the time to get the ball to him.
32 seconds remaining in the half. Alexander, 2 catches for 65 yards. This time it is Trevathan. No, they're ruling that he was out of bounds when he made the catch.
Drawhorn defending.
Very close call by the official on that play, but he was right on top of it. Looked like Trevathan might have gotten a foot in there, but the official right on top ruled it incomplete.
29 seconds remaining in the first half. 14-10. BC leads.
It's kind of tough to call that one incomplete. Looked like he had a foot down and dragging it.
Trevathan didn't like the call, but he loses the argument with the official. Joe Fuller.
And Joe Fuller injured himself on that play also. He made the break, got his foot caught in the turf just as he came down on the play and might have twisted his knee. But Danny McManus that time, looking at his receiver a little bit too long, Joe Fuller able to make a great break on the ball, and Trevathan was very fortunate he didn't pick that one off and go a long ways with it.
McManus has been intercepted, as I mentioned earlier, 3 times in the first half since taking over from Danny Barrett. And had Fuller been able to hold that throw, I think he was gone for 6.
He was, but, you know, an injury also, would he have been able to run after he caught it? You know, and Fuller's down under some pain right now. Looked like it might just be a cramp, though, from the look at it. But Joe Fuller with a tremendous break on the ball, stepping right in front of Clark on the play, will make that flutie. And he goes down just as he drops the ball, and he might have cramped up when he made the move down.
23 seconds remaining in the first half. And as you suggested, it appears to be a cramp. Actually, the way he went down, it probably is a cramp because he started to make a couple of moves and then reached for the back of his leg.
And those can become mighty painful, you know, when that muscle will not relax, and the trainers are down there working on him right now, vigorously trying to get it worked out. It doesn't look like a serious injury. You know, just hold up the game here very shortly. Joe Fuller, it's been a couple years in the NFL prior to coming to the Rough Riders. This is his second Rough Rider team. Originally, he was a Saskatchewan Rough Rider.
They've had a number of different people playing the corner position in Ottawa this year. Joe Fuller is playing one corner. Canadian Patrick Burke playing the other corner. We talked about the rarity of an import playing an offensive line position. It's been a while since a non-import has played a corner position.
Yeah, that had been one of those designated positions for an import player, and Patrick Burke is a tremendous athlete and able to step in and play that position and doing a tremendous job of it also.
Charles Gordon will replace Joe Fuller. 23 seconds remaining. Third and 10, and the Lions leave the offense out there. A third down gamble by BC in the final seconds of the first half. And McManus has his pass deflected again at the line of scrimmage. That's about 3 or 4 times now that McManus has had those passes knocked down right at the line of scrimmage.
He's going to have to get back just a little bit deeper in the pocket. Michael Rabby that time was able to get his hands up and knock that one down, but McManus is not throwing completely over the top. He's coming about a 3/4 arm on his delivery, and the Rough Rider linemen are able to get their hands up and bat those balls down.
Obviously, Dave Ritchie has great confidence in the ability of his defense to hold the Rough Riders with 19 seconds remaining. Burgess is down as Ritchie's faith in his defensive unit is justified.
And O.J. Brigance with his second sack of the night coming in on Tommy Burgess. The coverage by the secondary created another sack also. Burgess could not find an open receiver downfield. The pocket collapsed around him. Brigance picked up the sack.
Tyrone Jones coming from the backside. He didn't get there in time. And the ball is taken out of bounds by Stephan Jones with 5 seconds remaining. And it's at the 49.5 of the BC Lions.
Andre France is given quite a cushion over there to Stefan Jones, not wanting him to get behind him. And Stefan utilized that position he had on the field, came back to his quarterback, was able to pick up the first down.
Burgess was signaling to the bench that they had a play called, and now he decides to call a timeout. I think this is almost beyond the range of Terry Baker for a field goal attempt.
A little beyond the range of Terry Baker, but also when Ottawa scored its only offensive touchdown last week against Toronto, this similar situation was set up where Stefan Jones was able to get behind the defensive back, and they'll probably try something similar to that. But Ritchie, being the defensive mind that he is, should put both safeties back around the 15-20-yard line, not allowing that situation to happen.
8 seconds remaining in the game against Toronto when Tom Burgess combined with Stefan Jones for the winning touchdown. He got behind Corus Irvin, and I don't think we're going to see Corus Irvin at Iberwin Stadium on Monday afternoon.
Well, after that situation, Corus Irvin came out and stated that some bad defensive calls were made by the coaches, but the coach didn't make him gamble on that play.
4 receivers come out wide left. But a time count violation is assessed against the Ottawa Rough Riders.
Time count violation. Ottawa number 13. Loss of down. Second down.
It really doesn't change things with 5 seconds remaining.
This should be the last play in the half, barring a penalty on the play. But you also got a chance to look at the defensive formation they were going to line up in.
Tyrone Jones now talking to referee Jake Ireland.
Working on a little camera time. It's one of the longest time count violations I've ever seen.
I think BC's going to waive the penalty.
BC has declined the penalty. It remains first down. The clock will run on the whistle.
That's the reason they declined the penalty. It's quite possible, I suppose, that you could run 2 plays in 5 seconds if the clock didn't start until the ball was snapped. Burgess completes it to Jock Climby. He's going to kick it into the end zone. And it goes out of bounds for a single point. An alert play by Jock Climby, and that only happens in the CFL.
Only in the CFL. You call a timeout, set up a pass over the middle, come back, get it to your receiver, turn out, punt it into the end zone for a single.
3 points separating the BC Lions and the Ottawa Rough Riders at the halftime break. Scott?
Don, hasn't been easy for the Riders to focus on football, but they did a good job in the first half. But what's going on here in Ottawa, where it's hard to keep track of the hirings and threatened firings? We'll try to explain it as we invite you now to stay tuned for Live at the Half. Back now in Ottawa for Live at the Half. In the stadium, where in the course of the last couple of weeks there have been some stormy meetings between players and owners, threatened firings and hirings of consultants and guest coaches. Some of the things you might expect to happen when a team coming off a good season goes 2-7 to start this one, and the owner decides he's had just about enough. Welcome to the greatest show on earth, or at least the one with the most performers.
The Central Canada exhibition left a week ago, but it's still a 3-ring circus when you talk about football. In ring number 1, you've got Dexter Manley. Ring number 2, football consultants. And ring number 3, the fans aren't sure how good this team is.
I think more people are laughing at the team than ever before. I mean, they were always comical the last few years. Last year they got back to respectability and they earned respect around the league, and now it's just all falling apart.
Most CFL teams have 3 rings, actually, management, coach, and players. It's just that Ottawa has more of a sideshow. Listen closely. At the head of this organization is the man with the money, and he's got lots of it, Bernie Gleberman. He brought in former Crazy Canuck ski coach John Ritchie. Normally, he'd be president, but he couldn't be president here because Lonnie Gleberman already had that job. So Ritchie became vice chairman and CEO. After the CEO fired the GM, the Riders lost 6 in a row. It looked like they were SOL, so in came J.I. as a special consultant to the CEO.
It's all very confusing, and it's very difficult to concentrate on what the task at hand is, and that's why we're here, is to win football games, and this week it's to beat BC.
Okay, back to the flowchart. J.I. thought Ron Smeltzer, the head coach and also the director of football operations, and a beleaguered individual, if ever there was one, needed help. So the Riders hired 2 guest coaches to help their 7 permanent coaches. So now they have 9, almost enough for man-to-man coverage. One of the guest coaches used to be the head coach for 10 years.
Well, to say it doesn't affect the team at all would be a lie, but hopefully we're minimizing the effect of what's gone on and just kept it under control.
The ownership has been frustrated as well as the team, and that has, reverberated down to everybody. So there's definitely some things happening that have affected us. It's our job to play over that.
Speaking of back in time, Lonnie. Remember him? He's in charge of Dexter. They have their own department. Dexter Manley, when he's not holding seances, is training for another comeback with the Riders. Lonnie insists the former NFL great can and will help the team. Players don't agree.
It's not making no big difference, He's a player, I'm a player, and we're here to do a job. So we don't have any. I don't have any control on who they're going to play or who they're not going to play. All I have control over is what I'm doing.
In the end, though, none of the lines matter. It can all be traced back to the top of the chart, to the owner whose money is on the line. Bernie Gleberman is with us now, and a good sport he was to sit through the preceding item. But, Bernie, let's be serious for a moment, and I put to you directly the charge that I'm sure you've heard before, and that is when an owner injects himself into the operation of a team in any sport, he risks causing distractions or, at the worst, chaos. Your response?
Well, Scott, when you're 2-7, and at the time we interjected ourselves, we were 1-7. It's time to interject yourself and change things around. I don't want to be guilty of doing nothing when I've got a very talented team. The team that we put on the field has the talent. We knew there were things wrong. Not being football people, we thought we knew what was wrong, but we wanted to get some confirmation to what we thought. Therefore, we brought in some people that have had tremendous experience in the league, and we were, they made jokes that we brought people in that hadn't been around for 8 or 10 years. Well, there's certain things you never forget. And J.I. has been very helpful for us in at least confirming many of the things that we thought. And ironically, he's confirmed most of what we thought was wrong. We then, of course, had to spend some time making decisions. In a normal business situation, you have a 90-day quarter, so what you do is you take the next 90-day or the next quarter and you kind of write it off and say, well, look, we'll take the next 90 days, we'll bring in some consultants, and we'll decide what's wrong with our business. In football, at the end of 90 days, the season's over. So we had to cram those decision-making powers into between the 6th loss and the 7th loss. Absolutely, there was indecision and what would look to be chaos because we didn't have a choice. But I can tell you now that I feel very comfortable on the decisions that were made.
I've got to ask you this quickly. We're running out of time, so brevity here if possible. Would you not concede that publicly threatening to fire an offensive coordinator or a head coach serves to undermine the confidence of the players in those people?
Well, at the time that we did it, we had to make some bold moves. We certainly quickly made the decision to keep Harry because we think Harry's a fine guy. Our concern was he didn't have enough experience. Now we've solved that problem with a guy who's got the experience. We feel comfortable. The players feel very comfortable now. And we got a second half of the season, and we're only 2 points out, and I think we're going to go.
That's the beauty of the East Division, is it not? Bernie Gleberman, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
And so Gleberman's team is trailing by 3 at the half. Stay with us, everybody. We'll return to Frank Clair Stadium in just a moment. In Ottawa, the Eastern Riders trailing by 3 through 30 minutes. And how things have turned around in Saskatchewan, where the Western Riders were drawing poor crowds until last week when they set an attendance record at Taylor Field. They'll have another sellout tomorrow. Let's go to Regina and hear from Mark Lee.
Well, Scott, this is Autograph Day at Taylor Field. Another example of how Rider pride is getting a shot in the arm from this community. Last week, of course, a record crowd of more than 33,000 watched as Dave Ridgway kicked the game-winning field goal over Sacramento with no time left on the clock, and another crowd of 30,000 expected for this game against Winnipeg, Dave, and it must be awfully gratifying as an athlete.
Yes, it is. I don't think being on a 5-game roll really hurts us, but, you know, it's tradition here that people turn out for the Labor Day game against Winnipeg, and we usually get probably 2,500 to 3,000 people from Manitoba coming in for it, too, so everybody gets pumped.
When you think of Labor Day and the Bombers, as a Rough Rider, what images come to mind?
For the most part, really good football games. I can think of only one during my 12-year career that has been a blowout. Even when we were a pretty poor football team, we'd give the Bombers a shot.
Well, we're expecting a big game. Good weather. Good luck tomorrow, Dave.
Thank you.
Right. Scott, is Winnipeg and Saskatchewan in the Labor Day Classic. We're on the air with the kickoff at 3 Eastern.
Okay, Mark, it's also the first half of a home-and-home series. And, Don, I think the Lions here are expected to see a fired-up bunch of Eastern Riders tonight. They certainly did on defense in the first half of this game.
Scott, by O.J. Brigance, 4 sacks in the first half of the football game. And that was 15 for the year, James. But from an Ottawa standpoint, the encouraging part of things, after being stopped at the goal line, they were able to put it in the end zone after they got it back.
They were able to pick it up, take it down the field, and get into the end zone. They didn't have a touchdown at all offensively until 59 minutes had gone by in the game last week. Tommy Burgess was able to hit Walker on a fade route, which was a big play confidence booster for both players and the entire offensive team for Ottawa.
And that came, as I mentioned, after they'd been stopped 3 times and trying to put it in from the one.
You hopefully, when you get the ball on the 1-yard line, you got the 2 big backs in the backfield, you have to give them the ball and hope that they can punch it in. When you had Reggie Barnes here in the past, you knew where you were going to go. Some uncertainty has arisen in the past couple of games, and Tommy Burgess tried to sneak it in himself.
Just 3 points separating the 2 teams as we get set for the second half. Scott?
Well, Don, we've mentioned the Riders' 4 losses by less than 10 points in total, 2 of those by 1 point. This one could yet be close either way. The Lions lead by a field goal. The second half kickoff is next.
The Ottawa Rough Riders won the coin toss to start the game. They deferred their choice to the second half, and as a result, to start the second half, they have opted to receive. Burke and Stanley are back for the kickoff. Burke fields it, and Burke is caught from behind. He only got up to the 39-yard line. Spencer McLennan, who leads the team in special team tackles, was downfield to bring down Burke. Statistically, this is what happened in the first half. The Ottawa Rough Riders had an edge in time of possession. Turnovers could have played a major role as far as the Rough Riders were concerned, but they couldn't capitalize on those 4 turnovers.
And you got to capitalize when you get breaks like that. You got to put some points on the scoreboard.
Burgess comes out throwing to start the second half, and he misses the target, Shavers. Burgess completed 7 passes in the first half. Wayne Walker, who scored the lone Ottawa touchdown, was on the receiving end of 3. Second and 10, Burgess out of the shotgun. Looks deep, he's got Clammy, can't catch it.
Tom Burgess feeling a tremendous amount of pressure, but Jock Climby had gotten behind the secondary on that play, behind Eddie Taylor, and Jock Climby gave up on it just a little bit too soon. He probably could have took a couple more strides, but he left his feet just a little early trying to lay out, make one of those spectacular catches, and came up a little short on it.
Jock Climby this year hoping to become a 1,000-yard receiver for the first time in his CFL career. Terry Baker stands back at the 25-yard line.
Well, coming into this game with over 700, he's very close to it.
Product of Queen's University, and only a Canadian player would think about kicking the ball downfield on the final play of the half, as he did. Lonnie Turner on the kickoff return. Terry Baker came over, got a piece of it, but Baker's hurt. A 51-yard punt, a 35-yard return. Baker really didn't try and tackle Turner. It seemed as though he tried to throw his body at him, and it looked as though he got banged in the ribs.
Looked like he exposed his ribs in that situation.
13:54 remains in the third quarter.
Terry Baker in that situation, coming, like you said, Don, trying to throw a cross body block on Lonnie Turner, actually got his right knee whipped around Lonnie Turner. As you'll see him come up, Lonnie Turner is cutting back. Terry Baker brings his leg around and leg whips him and overextends his right knee, his kicking leg, and this could be a very serious injury for the Ottawa Rough Riders right here.
It'd be a major blow if Baker isn't able to continue, because he handles the dual chore of place kicking and punting.
And what actually happened from the replay looked like he got a slight hyperextension of his right knee. As you'll see him come in, keep an eye on his right leg as he comes in, as it whips around Lonnie Turner, and you'll see the overflexion of the leg as it comes behind Turner right there, and Turner goes down, and Baker goes down from that blow also.
So if Baker isn't able to continue, Jock Climbing, who did a pretty good job left-footed of putting it in the end zone on the final play of the half, might take over the punting chore.
And if he does, that could present another problem for the BC Lions, because a left-footed punter, the ball spirals opposite of what you've become accustomed to in returning the football.
But right now, the concern of the Ottawa Rough Riders is the BC offense, as McManus continues at quarterback, 1st and 10 from midfield. He did not start the game, in case you joined us late. Danny Barrett was shaken up early. McManus has continued since. Handoff inside, fumble. Lybrand Robinson tried to get to it, but I think Philpott was able to get the ball back.
McManus mishandled the snap from the start. It looked like he might not have been ready when the snap came back. He was in the shotgun. Ball got to his chest. He had a problem getting the ball to Philpott, and Philpott hit the ball kind of high in his chest, never got a hand on it, and it went right to the turf, and fortunately enough, the Lions were able to recover.
2nd and 14. This time McManus is operating from the shotgun, giving some instructions to Sean Millington as to where he wants him to line up. Complete to Lonnie Turner, and that will be very close to a first down.
Lonnie Turner working a little short of the first down on that play. McManus getting outside the pocket to buy a little more time, running a stunt up front with Snipes and Kokla allowed him to get past the corner and find Turner in open just short of the first down.
Well, when they spot the ball, it's back at the 48-yard line, so Turner was a good 2 yards shy of the first down. After falling and going out of bounds, it looked as though he was closer than that. Stanley takes Pasaglia's 3rd down punt, but there's absolutely no room to run as he's surrounded at the 10-yard line after a 38-yard punt. Terry Baker has been attempting to kick the ball into the practice net on the sidelines. Now Dr. Mark Aubrey is looking at his right leg, and if he is unable to kick, Jock Climbey, who was doing some practicing earlier, will likely take over. Darren Joseph gets the handoff and has a gain of about 7. And I'm sure right now Jock Climbey is saying to himself, boy, I hope Terry Baker's okay.
Please be okay, because that's one of those situations where you line up with 11 men and you come after him with his inexperience. He doesn't have his timing steps down. And plus, if he's out running those patterns downfield, he could be a little tired getting the ball off a lot slower than what Baker normally would.
Jock Climbey, at the moment, lines up in a slot back position. 2nd and 3. Incomplete. It was intended for Stefan Jones. Now, who's going to punt?
Baker's coming onto the field.
Baker is going to come onto the field.
Not too strongly. Look a little gingerly in his stride coming out on the field. But the question will be, how well will he kick the ball? That's going to put a lot of pressure on that knee, on that follow-through. And so we'll see what his average is. He's averaging 45 yards tonight. And see what he gets on this kick right here.
You think BC might be going after it?
Well, this is a situation where you want to come. You know he's a little hobbled. He's going to be anxious about getting it off. He might shank one here.
Pressure up the middle. They almost got to it. And it was deflected, actually. I think it may have been McCready who got a piece of the football.
Derek McCready, the big youngster out of Ohio State, and Baker is still down. McCready followed through and ran into Baker as he blocked the punt, and that's what you want to do. You want to come after him in a situation like that, and the proper call was made by Coach Ritchie to go after him.
Just a 31-yard kick by Terry Baker, and I think McCready may have got a piece of the ball coming up the middle.
A swim move right up the middle. The up backs have to make a decision. You want to take the guys closest to the kicker, and that's straight up the middle. They let McCready go. Baker paid the price. Not only did he get the kick block, but he was hit in the other leg by McCready on the follow-through.
So the Lions take over 1st and 10 at the 45. McManus throws deep for Philpott, and Philpott was ready to run to the end zone before he caught the football. Scott?
Don, this game will be Danny McManus's to win for the BC Lions. They had a closer look at Danny Barrett at the half. He got a finger in the eye in the first half. Looked like his vision was coming back into focus, but now it appears that he's having trouble with his depth perception. He could come in a dire emergency, but doesn't look like the game is shaping up that way right now, so McManus will almost certainly go the distance, barring an injury to him.
Well, McManus went the distance against the Edmonton Eskimos in a winning effort early in August. Sideline pass incomplete. He was looking for Ray Alexander, but on the previous pass, he had Corey Philpott open, and Philpott should have caught the ball.
He should have caught it, as you related to. He tried to run before he brought it in. The Cardinals seeing, looking upfield, he had the defender beat, but he just didn't concentrate on the football enough. That time, McManus short on the pass, bounced it out to the receiver on one hop. He has to take his time, get his feet settled, and deliver the pass properly.
The Riders are going to be in another hole as Stanley waits back at his own 5-yard line. They'll be in a hole barring a big punt return. And Passaglia is trying to angle it to the sidelines. A penalty flag in the play, and Stanley is thrown out of bounds. It was interesting when the BC Lions beat the Edmonton Eskimos. Coach Ritchie said his instructions to Passaglia in the game were to angle the ball out of bounds, keep it away from the gizmo. Tonight, when they have an opportunity to put the Rough Riders in a hole, they're trying to angle the ball out of bounds.
2 yards. BC, 15-yard penalty, 1st down.
But a no-yards penalty will improve the Rough Riders' field position.
The Riders start out this time 1st down at their own.
Sean Millington put the BC Lions on the board first with a 15-yard run. Ottawa came back with a 5-yard pass, Burgess to Walker, and then Millington got his 2nd touchdown of the game. But Ottawa with a field goal and a single before the half ended, and that's the way it stands now.
Burgess' pass intended for Sean Daniels.
Burgess trying to work on that middle screen to Sean Daniels, but Ty Jones was not fooled on the play, picked up Daniels right at the line of scrimmage, almost came up with an interception on the play.
And when you play zone against Burgess, he's experienced enough. He'll try and hit the backs.
He's trying to pick up the backs out of the backfield because they're not allowing him to go deep. He's gone deep a couple times, overthrown his receivers, but he's trying to hit the underneath stuff right now.
From the shotgun. Here comes Scribner, and with Scribner forcing it inside, O.J. Brigance and Tyrone Jones get the sack.
O.J. Brigance is having an all-pro night tonight. He is one tremendous player in this ball game. This time he comes in, gets in on his 5th sack of the night. Burgess ducks Tyrone Jones. Brigance is right there for the cleanup. Number 5 on the evening, number 6 for the Lions.
Brigance was coming from the left side, and in his vision, Burgess saw Scribner coming from the right, and as he stepped up, who's there but a man he doesn't want to see but has seen a lot of tonight, O.J. Brigance.
Getting a Christmas card from him, probably.
This time a better 3rd down punt by Terry Baker, but it bounces back towards the line of scrimmage, and 2 players are trapped inside that 5-yard area. Ron Getz is one of them. 9-10 remains in the 3rd quarter.
As soon as we're done here at Frank Clair Stadium in Ottawa, we'll send you directly to California, where the Jays play the Angels in the third game of their 4-game series. Again, the Yankees won this afternoon, so the Jays have to win tonight to maintain their 2-game lead atop the American East. And what a win for the Yankees with Jim Abbott pitching a no-hitter. Don?
Yes, the Blue Jays now with an opportunity to maintain the advantage they started the day with. Pass inside to Sean Millington. And Angelo Snipes was in quickly, and as a result, McManus had to get rid of the ball quickly.
Looked like both teams are taking pages out of each other's playbook right here. Burgess started off the last series for Ottawa with the same type of slip screen. McManus comes back. Snipes is right there to break it up as the ball gets to Millington.
Joe Papa, the man with the white shirt and the play sheet in his hand, calling plays for Danny McManus. What do you think he's called this time?
Go deep.
Not that deep because it's intercepted. Remy Trudell gets interception number 4.
Remy Trudell sitting back playing center field that time. Danny McManus just overthrows his intended receiver on the play. McManus does not look sharp. Mike Trevathan was open on a crossing route over the middle. Danny McManus just gets too much air on that ball, and Trudell is right there to cradle that one in for the 5th interception of the night. You'll see Trevathan working hard trying to get open, but Trudell is there and the ball is overthrown. Kropke and Snipes, tremendous pressure up the middle. McManus feeling the heat, had time to get it away, but just overthrew the football.
McManus came into the game with 5 touchdown passes, 1 interception. He's now even at 5-5.
Not a good outing for Danny tonight. You're going to want to throw this one away.
Burgess throws over the middle. He was looking for James Ellingson, incomplete. He was being covered by Les Brown.
Ellingson sort of lost his footing as he tried to make the break to the inside, and Les Brown was right there and stumbling over him.
And the Rough Riders of 68 your attention. Thank you for your support.
2nd and 10 from the 15-yard line. 8:07 remaining in the third quarter. 14-11, the BC Lions lead. Walker goes wide left. The Lions have turned the ball over 5 times tonight. Walker makes the catch and then is caught, run down by the veteran James West. You don't expect that type of speed out of a veteran like James West, but when he saw Walker had the ball, he put it in another gear.
Are you saying he's a little long in the tooth, Don? But Walker did a tremendous job working one-on-one with Les Brown in this situation right here. Les let him get inside. Walker turns back to the outside after the reception. But you'll see James West with the closing on the play and the big forearm up around the head, bringing Walker down with some authority.
Over the middle, and Joseph picks up about 4, maybe 5, with 7:08 remaining in the third quarter.
And West has gotten into the flow of the football game. One play, he's out on the wide receiver, Walker, bringing him down in the flats. This time, he's getting Joseph one-on-one coming out of the backfield, bringing him down for a short gain on the play.
James is 37. He's still playing. How come you retired?
James had a different mindset than I did.
Joseph cuts back inside. He's got the first down up to the 41.
That's what they've been expecting from Derek Joseph, that type of movement in the open field. You'll see Tommy Burgess has him out on the swing route out of the backfield, circling out to the right, getting a ball, cutting back inside. O.J. Brigance with great pursuit, able to bring him down, but not until after the first down on the play.
Most of the cheers of 21,567 at Frank Clair Stadium have been directed towards the defense tonight, but finally the offense has given them something to yell about. They continue with James Ellingson taking it to the 50 of the BC Lions. He beats Taylor.
Well, Tommy Burgess right now is filling in the flow of the game. He has Ellingson working one-on-one on Taylor on that deep out pattern. Burgess is able to get into him. Ellingson pulls it in right prior to stepping out of bounds. The Riders have a nice little drive working here. They're at the 50-yard line of the Lions.
First and 10. The ball at the 50.
And the crowd is pumping it up a little bit.
Sean Daniels gets another first down. Driving down to the 38. Les Brown and Zach Allen cut the feet out from under Sean Daniels.
Tremendous job up front by this Ottawa offensive line. Chris Giacchis pulling from his right guard position. Sean Daniels finding him. Ken Warnock got pinned inside by Giacchis. Sean Daniels able to pick up 12 yards on the run. That's what the Riders need, a ground game to complement that passing game.
Burgess in the shotgun. Throws down the sidelines for Ellingson. Almost picked off by Taylor. Taylor had excellent position on him.
Eddie Taylor played that perfectly, one-on-one with James Ellingson working down the left sideline. Tommy Burgess mixing up his plays quite well, but Taylor, perfect inside position, not allowing Ellingson to come back towards the football. He's entitled to his field position, and he knocked down the pass at the last second.
Burgess, when he threw the touchdown pass to Wayne Walker in the first half, that was his 16th of the year, the 150th of his CFL career. Deep throw for Stephan Jones, and he couldn't beat Andre Francis to the corner.
He has not looked at Jones often this evening. You expected Jones to be working one-on-one with Francis all night, that would be a good matchup. You'll see him running down the sideline here, a little bump and run by Andre Francis, a little grab in there too. You know, it's not a penalty if the official doesn't call it, but Jones had gotten a step on him, ball over the wrong shoulder. He's expecting it inside. It's on the outside shoulder, and this is a true test for Terry Baker from 44 yards out.
4:47 remaining in the third quarter. A 44-yard field goal try by Terry Baker. It's good. And this game is tied at 14. 4:37 is the time remaining in the third quarter. Only 4 points separated the two teams on the 30th of July when BC won 28-24. And they're in a 14-14 deadlock here at Frank Clair Stadium with 4:37 remaining in the third quarter. Philpott fumbles the kickoff, gets it back, and then is down at the 30-yard line. Patrick Burke made the tackle, a 20-yard run back by Corey Philpott.
Tremendous coverage that time by Burke on the play. Philpott fumbled the ball. Normally that will disrupt the coverage of the cover team, but they stayed in their lanes. Burke came down, lowered the shoulder, and dropped Philpott on the 29.
Alexander lines up wide left. McManus continues at quarterback. Checking off at the line of scrimmage. Penalty flag. I think this is going to be a time count violation.
BC getting a little unnervy right now. Ottawa's in this ball game. BC didn't expect such a struggle. But it goes back to what we talked about in our opening, Don. Coach Ritchie was upset with the way that his
violation. BC number 14, still first down.
Was upset with the way that his team had been performing in practice. He felt that would spill over into their gameplay, and it's come true to form tonight. They have not been that crisp. McManus with the 4 touchdowns has really been no exception for that.
Well, this won't exactly paraphrase what Ritchie said, but it was something to the effect, you're going to get your butts kicked if you play that way in Ottawa. Intended for Flutie, incomplete, and McManus took a big shot from Ron Getz as he threw.
Ron Getz came on a delayed blitz. All the linemen were used up. Ottawa had used up all the linemen with the initial surge, but Getz came right through the right guard and tackle gap between Groenewegen and Mills, untouched. McManus standing in the pocket, chin to chin. Getz wins. And they're down to one quarterback if McManus can't go. A rookie, Jason Verduzco, who has been keeping charts on the sideline, now has his helmet up under his arm.
3:51 remaining in the third quarter. Snipes is after McManus. He throws for Trevathan. It's intercepted by Remy Trudell. Trudell loses the ball. Knocked out of bounds by BC.
But Danny McManus is feeling all kind of pressure. He has not found a comfort level in the pocket. That one he threw out completely sidearm, Don, and looked like it might have had some feathers as it wobbled out of there a little bit. But Trudell is having a field day at free safety. He is just roaming all over the field, looking for McManus. You can see that ball just floating. Trudell is right there, picks it off his second interception of tonight, returning it up. Knocked out by Lonnie Turner on the tackle there and picked up by Victor Stevenson as it was going out of bounds.
Sinclair had a shot at it, but Stevenson made sure it went out of bounds. Despite the interception, BC retains possession, but again, McManus overthrows the target, Darren Flutie.
He has been unnerved sitting in the pocket. He hasn't had anything on the ball. He is just letting it carry. But his offensive line, you know, you got the guys, the free agents that came in, Stevenson and Smith, but Jim Mills, two-time Shinley Award winner, has done an outstanding job. Stuman, a former teammate of his, taking him to the ground, not allowing any pressure from that left side.
You said something yesterday when we were talking about the play of Jim Mills this year. You said you just can't beat the big guy.
You can't get around him. You don't hear about him, but no one beats him.
Lybrand Robinson working against Mills. He gets nowhere. Intercepted by Trudell. His third of the game.
Don, tell me something. Am I colorblind, or does Danny McManus have a love affair for the number 24?
I think he believes Trudell's still with the BC Lions.
Because he's found him more often than he's found any other receiver tonight. But Trudell is just playing a great center field back here. He's seeing McManus. He's reading his eyes, and he's following the football, and McManus is finding him. And Trudell does a tremendous job once he gets the interception, picking up his blocks as he goes up the right sideline. But Jim Mills, once again, doing an outstanding job, this time on Robinson. No pressure from his side at all tonight.
6 interceptions now, thrown up by McManus. Burgess looks for the end zone for Climby. Knocked away at the last moment by Eddie Taylor.
The difference in the ball getting there and not getting there, just that split second, Burgess held the ball, waiting on Climby to move past the receiver, not having enough confidence to think that Climby is going to close on the football, but a great job at the end of that play by Taylor to get that hand up and knock it away, because that was 6 for Climby. He was in the end zone.
That's twice Burgess has attempted to go to Jock Climby in the end zone, and twice Eddie Taylor has made a couple of key plays. Burgess throws to the end zone again. Incomplete.
And Burgess took a tremendous hit from O.J. Brigance on that play. Brigance came through scot-free, and as Burgess on the follow-through, he put the shoulder right in his chin on the play.
Wayne Walker was the man Burgess was looking for. Didn't Ron Smeltzer say to us yesterday, one thing we'll do differently in this game when we get into the scoring zone, we'll think first down instead of trying to put it in the end zone?
Well, twice in a row, he went for 6 and came up short, and now Baker once again has to try a long field goal. You'll see Brigance coming through on Tommy Burgess and just puts him to the turf. Brigance has had a tremendous game with 5 sacks tonight.
Terry Baker's field goal attempt is wide. Tom Europe finally concedes the single point with 1:40 remaining in the third quarter, and the Ottawa Rough Riders have the lead for the first time. With 6 interceptions tonight, Tom McManus has established a BC club record, breaking the old mark shared by Randy Duncan and Paul Brothers.
Well, it's not one of those nights he wants to remember. Coming in a relief role when Danny Baird was knocked out by Glenn Kokla on that tremendous pass rush, McManus is not favored well tonight.
And McManus still has a quarter and 1:40 remaining. Scott?
Well, Don, if you want to know what the people think in Ottawa, you come up and talk to the Southsiders, Section LL, the upper deck, the South Side. Byron Smith, President for Life. Quick, Byron, what do you think of the goings-on here in this town?
It's just a big distraction. We're used to it. We'll go over. This is a better team than what our record shows. It'll come back. All right, Don, back to you for some business. We'll get back to Byron in a sec.
Remy Trudell knocked it down. Danny Barrett is in at quarterback. Barrett throwing the pass deep, but Trudell came very close to getting his 4th interception of the game.
Trudell is reading excellent tonight at the free safety position. He is playing the position like it's supposed to be played. He is following the flow of the quarterback's eyes. He is not being fooled by misdirection of the early motion, and he is going right to the football. Barrett has yet to complete a pass tonight. He is 0 for 5, even though he just came back in the game.
Barrett from the shotgun being pressured by Snipes. Barrett's pass underthrown as he was trying to go for Ray Alexander. Now Kulka gets into it on the sidelines with, it appeared, Danny Barrett.
Danny Barrett did not take that hit too favorably and got up off the turf, and it might have been a step or two late. I've seen hits like that in the old days, but Barrett didn't like that at all and reacted to it.
Of course, it was Kulka who fell on top of Barrett that took him out of the ball game. Here's another look.
Yeah, this is a very borderline hit. I mean, that's 2 strides and hitting the quarterback after he's released the ball and watching the flight down the field. And Barrett reacted to it in an unfavorable way of going after Kulka. But you got to pick somebody smaller if you're going to go after him.
Well, I guess Danny Barrett feels he's justified in going after Kulka. 2 hits in tonight's ball game.
And they both flattened him.
57 seconds remaining in the 3rd quarter. 15-14, Ottawa leads. Close football games, nothing new for the Rough Riders. They've been involved in 5 that have been decided by less than a touchdown. 3 of them by 1 point. 2 they lost, 1 they won. Walter Stanley finds some room to the sidelines, and he takes it out of bounds at the 38-yard line, and there's also a penalty flag. Scott?
Okay, Don, I'm still with the Southsiders, upper deck of the south side of Frank Clair Stadium. By the way, I'm here by special invitation only, even though they say I'm highly overdressed. Byron Smith, president for life. The point I was making earlier is, what do the fans think of all the headlines that this team has been making? Consultants hired, threatened firings, Dexter coming back, etc.
We really don't think it means a lot. Like, we're used to it. It's water off a duck. It's all going to blow over. They'll all be gone by the end of the season, and I think this team will be doing well.
Thanks for having me up once again. I appreciate it. Don?
Well, the Southsiders will have plenty to cheer about, because not only did Stanley return the ball 44 yards on the punt, but there's also a rough play call against BC, and that will take the ball to the 23.
And this is what Tommy Burgess has to capitalize when he gets big breaks like this for his offense. He has to put points and a major on the scoreboard.
He swings it out to Darren Joseph. Bounced out of bounds down at the 15 by Les Brown.
You have to like what Tommy Burgess did on this play. He got the ball out to Joseph quickly in the flat so that he could square up his shoulders, get turned upfield, and survey and pick out where he was going to run to. And he picked up 8 solid yards on that reception.
Now, this is what Ron Smeltzer was saying he wanted Burgess to do when they got into scoring territory. Go for the first down. Don't try and put it in the end zone right away.
Well, look for a running play right here.
Joseph slips, gets back up, and then gets pummeled to the turf by 3 players. And that is the final play of the 3rd quarter. 15-14, the Ottawa Rough Riders lead as we get set for the final 15 minutes at Frank Clair Stadium. Well, there's no question Jock Climby and Tom Burgess are keys to any success the Ottawa Rough Riders are going to enjoy this year. Will it be a championship season? Well, there's still a long way to go before that will be determined. Terry Baker, however, does improve Ottawa's advantage on the first play of the 4th quarter. 18-14, the Riders now lead.
The Riders were looking for a touchdown in a situation like you get the big punt return and you get the penalty tacked on at the end of the run, and you need to be able to have some productivity after that. But Stanley did a tremendous job. He caught the ball on the 30-yard line, picked up his blocking, went straight up the field, broke it out to the right sideline, was able to turn it up, got a great block right there, and just had a field right in front of him. Drawhorn trying to get a block on Hansen. Louis Pasaglia with a tremendous job of getting him down at the end of that run, and also they picked up the personal foul penalty, added another 15 yards at the end of that play. A big play for the Riders emotionally.
I gotta show my mom this.
There's one excited young man right there, Walter Stanley, who's having an outstanding game on kick returns tonight. He's been a big part of the Rough Riders having this lead 18-14 at the start of the fourth quarter.
And the Rough Riders will kick off following the Terry Baker field goal. Well, the problems Baker had as a result of the injury earlier don't appear to be causing him any difficulties, because he kicked that one deep. Philpott runs it back to the 41.
63-yard kickoff is returned 29 yards by Corey Philpott.
A 64-yard kickoff, a 30-yard return. And the Riders are now beginning to improve their numbers statistically, but the big difference, 7 turnovers.
The 7 turnovers have really killed the Lions tonight. Danny McManus with the 6 interceptions. That really kills a team when you're trying to mount a drive, all of a sudden the defense. But on the other hand, you have to take your hat off to the Rough Riders defense tonight. They've played an exceptional game defensively. The game plan they came in with, they've been able to stick with it. The players have been able to execute. And so you have to take your hat off to them, because they've played one well of a game here for 3 quarters so far tonight.
Danny Barrett started the game, was shaken up on a hit by Glenn Kulka, left early, gave way to Danny McManus, but McManus, with 6 interceptions, a BC club record, has been replaced again by Danny Barrett.
And Barrett is yet to complete a pass tonight. He is 0 for 6, so you can expect the Riders to come with the blitzes in these situations, bring a lot of heat. Until he can hurt you, you have to come with what got you in this lead in the game, and the blitz is the thing that will keep him in the lead.
Dave Ritchie's concerns about the way the team practiced this week appear to be well-founded.
They're well-founded, Don, because they have just not been productive. Danny McManus was not sharp. Danny Barrett went out of the game early, but the offense has just not been in sync. They gave him some time early, but he became a little unnerved. Feet were moving around in the pocket. 6 interceptions resulted of it.
Brett Young shaken up on the kickoff return. He's being replaced by Gordon. Barrett has his first completion. Matt Clark has a first down. Loses the football, but I think the whistle had gone.
He was down. The ground can't cause a fumble. Joe Fuller, one-on-one coverage out there on Clark, but Clark had gotten the separation. Danny Barrett strong-armed that pass out in the flat to him, picked up 9 yards, put him in a 2nd and short situation.
Well, apparently it's close enough to measure to determine whether or not it is a first down.
Well, I didn't wear my glasses tonight, so give me the benefit of the doubt on this one. Short.
Now, we saw earlier Ottawa on 2nd and less than 1 gamble and go for the end zone. Do you think it would be a good call for Barrett?
Don, it's the proper call in this situation, because it's a given if you have to sneak it in this situation. With the defensive line having to give a yard, you go up top.
Don't tell that to Ottawa. They couldn't sneak it in from the 1-yard line.
Oh, okay. Well, it's just us having this conversation up here.
Well, it looks as though Barrett is going to go for broke. No, he's going to keep. He had 3 receivers to either side, but he kept on the quarterback sneak to get the first down. 13:55 remaining in the football game, and we've got more exciting action coming your way this weekend. Winnipeg at Saskatchewan tomorrow afternoon, and then on Monday, a doubleheader. The 2 Labor Day Classics, Edmonton at Calgary, Toronto at Hamilton.
Tradition in the CFL, the Labor Day contest, back-to-back games on each day, and that's what this time of the year is all about. People coming back from the cabins, getting into the CFL full force.
The initial first down of the second half for the BC Lions. All sorts of movement at the line of scrimmage. Barrett started to drop back even further from the shotgun, and I don't know whether that drew people offside or whether there was procedure on the part of the Lions.
Looked like a little miscommunication between Sinclair and Barrett. Barrett was backing out. Sinclair didn't release the ball. Receivers were taking off. Everyone knew the count except for the center on the play.
Time count violation. BC number 8. Still first down.
Ball moves back 5 to the 47, where it's first
5 turnovers
and 15.
in 8 possessions. Those aren't the type of numbers that produce winning football. First and 15 with the time count violation. Barrett throws deep, nowhere near a receiver. Neither Trevathan or Alexander were within 15 yards of the football, and Dave Ritchie is not a happy camper.
Well, the quarterbacking has just not been sharp at all tonight for the Lions. Neither Danny Barrett nor Danny McManus have been able to get the ball to the receivers. They've been overthrowing them on regular occasion. McManus, 4 of his interceptions were just overthrown passes. That time, Barrett overthrown that one by 7 to 8 yards.
Second and 15, BC.
This is where you pin your ears back and come after Danny Barrett. You know he has to throw the ball. He needs to pick up 15. You bring the blitz from the outside.
Pass complete to Flutie. He's going to be stopped short of a first down by Anthony Drawhorn.
Flutie, the sure-handed possession receiver. Doesn't get all the recognition of his older brother, but he's a great player in his own right. He comes down and works against that soft zone of the Ottawa Rough Riders, able to curl in. Picked up 13, needed 15. That's the critical mistake that receivers make sometimes. But you see him as he's working. He comes back to the quarterback, and that's where he lost the critical yardage. Trying to get up off the ground. Drawhorn able to stop him short of the first down.
Pasaglia stands back at the 45 for this third down punt. Just one man back. That's Walter Stanley. He lets it bounce out of bounds inside the 5-yard line. Excellent punt by Lou Pasaglia. We'll be back after this. 4 points separate the two teams with 12:24 remaining in the fourth quarter. Kent Warnock did not travel with the team to Ottawa yesterday. He stopped off in Calgary, where wife Corrine was in labor, and he was present for the birth of the couple's first child, daughter Brooke, 7 pounds, 11 ounces. He arrived in the nation's capital late this afternoon. Congratulations to Corrine and Kent. Safety touch. Tyrone Jones gets to Darren Joseph in the end zone.
An odd play call, a misdirection counter in your own end zone. A play that takes a long time to develop. Tyrone Jones coming from his backside rush position, able to catch Joseph in the backfield. As you'll see, they're pulling both offensive linemen on the backside. Graybill is the tackle coming around. Tyrone Jones able to come across, cut between the pulling offensive linemen, meet Joseph in the backfield before he could break the plane, drops him for the 2-point safety. A very critical mental mistake for the Ottawa Rough Riders right there.
But isn't that a strange kind of a play, a handoff that deep and that slow in developing?
Very strange, because to pull those 2 offensive linemen from the backside is going to take some time. And when you have a fleet set of linebackers pursuing, Tyrone Jones able to read what was going. You know, that's what veteran players do. They pick up those things and they sense the kill, and he was able to go in and make the big play for the Lions defense. Not only do they get the 2 points down, but they'll get the ball back in this situation.
You know, talking to Ron Smeltzer about the close losses that the Ottawa Rough Riders have suffered this year, he said the one in which they lost to the Hamilton Ticats, he accepted responsibility for, because he said in the final minute of the football game, he felt that he tried to outsmart and outcoach himself. And, you know, not all the blame can be laid at the hands of the coach for some of those close losses, but he certainly accepted responsibility for the loss to Hamilton early in the year.
Well, that was a situation right there where he's going to have to question the play that was called in that situation, because a slow developing play in your own end zone, is not a smart call.
Tripped up by Charles
And
Gordon.
Philpott is down after that kick return. He was tripped up by Gordon on that play, and he's still down.
A 59-yard kickoff, 17-yard return, 18-16. Ottawa leading by 2 after the safety touch.
You'll see Philpott as he's cutting back, and it plants, and his left ankle just gives out on him on that play. Very, very bad looking play. It just buckled on him. Hopefully it didn't crack or anything, but he's really in a lot of pain, grimacing on the field.
It's been a tough year for BC running backs. John Volpe having the injury, the broken leg, and then suffering further injuries to the same leg. Corey Philpott now with an apparent leg injury. Looks like they're working on his knee.
On the replay, it looked like his ankle gave, but like you said, they're working up in the knee area, and there seems to be a lot of pain there on the outside of it.
12:02 remaining in the football game. Scott?
Well, Don, Danny Barrett will head onto the field as soon as they clean things up out there and lead the offense again. Now, what did I say about Barrett? He'd only go back into the game in the case of a dire emergency to replace Danny McManus. Well, this is me trying to talk myself out of a big hole. The explanation is simple as to why Barrett's back in the game. The Lions thought the near record number of interceptions that Danny McManus was throwing made it an emergency. We caution, though, that Barrett's vision is not quite 100%, almost, though, and obviously good enough. As for McManus, I said to him, Danny, what's going on out there? And he said, I don't know. He said, I think I'm making Remy Trudell an All-Canadian tonight.
Never lose your sense of humor, Danny. 6 interceptions, a BC club record, 1 shy of the league record, and James West, former teammate in Winnipeg, attempts to console him.
Well, Trudell is very appreciative of what has occurred for him this evening, because those are the evenings that defensive backs dream about, to get 4 or 5 interceptions, and he's close to that tonight. And, you know, he's feeling exceptionally good, you know, playing at his home stadium here. You know, you have to feel good about his performance tonight.
He's playing a safety spot vacated by Sean Footy, who went to the BC Lions as a free agent, and losing Sean Footy was a big blow to the Ottawa defense. He is generally recognized as the premier safety in the CFL.
The top Canadian safety in the CFL, and he's also out with an injury right now, Don.
Barrett from the shotgun.
Greg
Stuman has recovered. Knocked away from Matt Clark.
Danny Barrett feeling the heat, but he's able to get the ball to Clark on a quick slant. Clark coming from the right side of the formation, and Danny Barrett hits him right in stride with the pass. He delivers a perfect strike to him. Clark has the ball, but he's stripped at the last moment by Charles Gordon. Greg Stuman hustling in, able to pick up the fumble recovery. Ottawa once again with great field position. Another turnover by the BC Lions.
The Ottawa Rough Riders attempting to put some distance between themselves and the last place Toronto Argonauts and move into a tie with Hamilton for second in the East. And they have a chance to add to their 2-point lead as Joseph takes the little swing pass, cuts back inside. He's got very close to a first down. I think if he had kept going to the sidelines, he would have gained a first down easily.
But Tommy Burgess right now seems to have a better grasp of the game as it has evolved. That time, once again, as he did in the last possession, able to hit Joseph on a swing pass out in the left flat. Joseph, as you said, if he had stayed towards the sideline, possibly would have picked up the first down, but nevertheless, another 8-yard gain on the play.
Second and less than a yard, and Sean Daniels will pick up a first down. Stopped by O.J. Brigance.
Good surge by his offensive line of Kanopoulos, Damon, and Giaskis right there in the middle. Sean Daniels with his head down, just going ahead for the first down. And now that the Riders are down at the 25-yard line, this is what Tommy Burgess really has to be headsy. He has to make the proper call and executions in this situation.
He has to be patient.
He has to be patient, pick his spot.
First and 10.
Burgess reverses his field. Graybill couldn't pick up the block that he needed. And Tyrone Jones got to Burgess. Graybill had a chance to spring Burgess around the corner.
The offensive lineman, when you see a defender coming, you have to put a hat on him. You got to get him on the ground. Graybill's right in front of him. All he does is try to extend his hands. You have to go and cut the defensive lineman, get him down on the ground. Tyrone Jones, relentless in his pursuit, making another good play. This has probably been Tyrone's best game of the season tonight because he's been all over the field. He hasn't been talking for a change, but he's been playing.
He has been playing indeed, and the BC Lions have had 7 quarterback sacks tonight. Tom Europe came across and tried to pick it off in front of James Ellingson. But the Ottawa Rough Riders are now forced to send out the field goal unit. Immediately after tonight's football game, baseball will be coming your way from the West Coast. Brian Williams, Tommy Hutton, Ken Daniels on the scene to describe the Toronto Blue Jays at the California Angels. The Blue Jays need a win after New York's triumph today behind the no-hitter of Jim Abbott. Baker's field goal attempt from 41 is wide. Lonnie Turner runs it out of the end zone and brings it all the way back to the 30-yard line. And there's also a penalty flag that could be a late hit against Ottawa.
Lonnie Turner.
With the number of turnovers by the BC Lions tonight, you'd think the Ottawa Rough Riders would have this game under control, but give BC's defense some credit. Also, they've sucked it up when they've had to.
That's been the inconsistency of Ottawa's offense, not being able to score when they get in the red zone.
Barrett fakes inside. Barrett throws deep for Clark. First down at the 26.
Danny Barrett taking a gamble on that play, going down for the home run, able to get outside. But Angelo Snipes once again lost contained. Danny Barrett able to get outside and deliver the pass downfield to Clark. Clark able to pull it in as he got behind the coverage, but a great receiver stopped and waited on the ball, bringing it to his body. Millington pinning Snipes to the inside, and that's the cardinal sin. You do not want your rush guy to lose contain. Snipes gambled, lost it. Big play for the Lions.
Brett Young, who was shaken up earlier in the game, down once more, and he'll be replaced by Charles Gordon.
There's been a lot of players go down tonight, Don. I mean, both sides of the ball, and the defensive backs has really taken a toll on him. Joe Fuller went down earlier, and he's back in the game right now, but Ottawa's running short in the secondary.
Both teams have expressed concerns about the play of their secondaries this year. I think it's been a bigger problem in BC than in the nation's capital.
Well, they've given up quite a few yards through the air in BC this year, and their secondary hasn't performed to the level that they thought that it would. On the other hand, Ottawa's secondary has come in and performed well tonight with the 6 interceptions. I mean, you really couldn't ask much more of them coverage-wise. They've not really allowed BC to get into the end zone on a regular basis tonight like they've been victimized in the past. Last week, Toronto scored 4 touchdowns via the air against this secondary.
Running against Ottawa has not been successful this year. They have the best defense against the rush in the CFL.
But sometimes when you have a great defense against the rush, means because you're crowding the line of scrimmage and you force your secondary to do a lot of one-on-one coverage. And if you slip someone behind a defender, you have no safety on the back end to come across in the pursuit to run them down.
I say that about the rush defense of the Ottawa Rough Riders, and both BC touchdowns have come on the ground tonight. 8:23 remaining in the game. Scott?
Well, Don, I know earlier you and James made reference to the years that Remy Trudel spent in BC. I had a word with him before he headed back onto the field, and he's really enjoying this game and his 3 interceptions because he's from Prince George, so He began to consider himself almost a lifelong member of the Lions and was really hurt, he said, when they cut him in training camp this year in favor of Sean Footie. So with each one that he's picked off, he's headed over to the Lions bench and taunted them. The Lions in return have given him some lip service, and feelings are running high, but Trudell is enjoying every moment of, I think, what would have to call the game of his life.
Every player enjoys having success against a former team. You must have enjoyed playing against every team in the CFL.
Every team was a former team.
Barrett overthrew Mike Trevathan.
There was many occasions, Don, when I dressed up next to a guy one day, and the next week I had to play against him. But Barrett right there in that situation, just getting rid of the ball too quickly, not allowing the pattern time to develop, forced the ball downfield, overthrew his receiver.
2nd and 10 from the 25. Ottawa leading by 2 points.
Barrett needs to get outside, buy some time, survey the field, find the open man here.
He gives inside to Sean Millington, who has scored 2 touchdowns, and Millington will get 7. Tripped up by Angelo Snipes.
Another inside trap. Millington has scored twice on that similar play, trying to trip up the Ottawa defense in that situation, get them thinking pass like everyone else, come back with the inside trap. Not a normal play that you would call in that situation.
But now the BC Lions have a chance to take the lead as they send out the field goal unit, and this should be a relatively easy shot for Lou Pasaglia.
Lou is 18 for 25 in the field goal department. This is well within his range at 25 yards, as long as his 48 this season.
Pasaglia is accurate, and the Lions have the lead with 7:07 remaining at Frank Clair Stadium. The Ottawa Rough Riders, twice this year, have lost games by a single point. They are down by 1 with 7:07 remaining. Burgess works from the shotgun. 2 receivers to either side. He keeps 2 backs in to provide some blocking help. He's forced to run. He'll be stopped short of a first down by Zoc Allen.
Tommy Burgess, not being the most fleet of the foot of quarterbacks, that time felt the pressure. The pocket collapsed around the outside of him, able to come in the middle. They didn't have the push up the middle, allowing him to escape. You'll see the line working up front. Scribner trying to get the push right there, but they created a lane between Lorenz and Warnock, and Burgess was able to run right between them.
Back to the live action on 2nd down. Burgess for Stephan Jones. Penalty flag. Andre Francis is called.
Andre Francis running that bump and run all night long. Bump just a little bit too long that time on Stephan Jones. Stephan Jones running the deep over the middle route, working one-on-one against Francis. Francis victimized on the play.
.623 remaining.
Ref sorting this one out, taking some time.
Forward pass interference, BC number 1. First down.
A first down at the midfield stripe as Andre Francis is flagged for interfering with Stephan Jones. That's been a pretty good battle all night.
They have. They've gone at it. They've worked hard against each other all night long. Burgess hasn't looked in his direction on many occasions, though.
Handoff to Joseph. Joseph is caught and hauled down by Tim Lorenz.
The Lions have been rotating their 4 Canadian defensive linemen in and out all night long. That time, Lorenz, who's played a majority of the share of the game tonight, able to come back around on that counter, grab Joseph, and drop him for a short gain on the play.
That's a big plus, having the Canadian defensive linemen, 4 of them, and you can rotate them, and you can go with 4 import linebackers.
4 quality Canadian defensive linemen.
Burgess having difficulty with the snap, manages to get it back.
And he's down by O.J. Brigance. Sack number 6 for Brigance tonight. Orenthal James came into the ball game leading the league with 11. He has 6 in tonight's game.
And he's put his stamp on a sure lead of the league for sacks this year. And Burgess, all kind of problems trying to grab that football, but Brigance is right there on top of him as he gains possession of it. And fortunately enough, he gives up the sack instead of the turnover.
O.J. Brigance leading the league with 17. Coach Ritchie was saying he'd have even more if he wasn't held so much. Obviously, the Rough Riders haven't been holding him enough tonight.
What, are you trying to accuse those offensive linemen of doing something illegal?
Never. Lonnie Turner takes it at the 23. He managed to stay in bounds and got a few additional yards, taking it back to the 36. Stopped there by Charles Gordon. We remind you, immediately following tonight's football game, baseball comes your way from California as the Blue Jays go up against the California Angels.
I wonder if Ottawa right now is feeling that sense of pressure that they've been in so many one-point ball games. Do they have the ability to pull it out? You know, for so often they've come up on the short end of this season.
But again, when a team turns the ball over as often as BC has tonight, shouldn't be a one-point ball game.
Should not.
Here comes Snipes. He hit Barrett just as he threw. And Barrett is rather slow in getting up as Snipes celebrates the sack.
Snipe came through freely off the right corner. They came with the double outside. Vic Stevenson had to pick up the inside man. Snipes came through freely, and Barrett didn't see him at all, and Snipes drew a bead on him and drilled him into the turf.
I believe I said Snipes celebrating a sack. Not a sack, but a hit on the quarterback because he did get the ball away. It's almost as good as a sack.
That's what you want, the pressure from the guys up front, and if you can do that, you can cover on the back end.
2nd and 10. Barrett for Alexander on the sidelines, no good. And Alexander's unhappy. So much so that he slammed his helmet into the turf.
Well, Barrett was slammed in the turf one more time also. John Crofty came through on Barrett on that play. Barrett has been feeling all kinds of heat since returning to the game for McManus. McManus didn't fare well with the 6 interceptions, and now Barrett is feeling the pressure. Ray Alexander working the sideline. Officials right on top of the play. Toes right on top of the green. Not called as a reception, though.
1 foot in bounds is good enough in the CFL. They ruled that he didn't have either foot in bounds. He tried to drag the toes. .402 remaining in the game. Again, Passaglia angles it to the sidelines. It takes a big bounce. Stanley has to go back to the 15, and then he's hauled down at the 12. 55-yard punt by Lou Passaglia. Hunter and Zoc Allen brought down Stanley. 3:49 remaining here at Frank Clair Stadium. Over 21,000 watching tonight. A one-point game between the Rough Riders and the BC Lions. The Lions won by 4 in their other meeting this season on the 30th of July at BC Place Stadium.
Well, the fans have been thoroughly entertained this evening. Right now, it's become a defensive struggle here in the 4th quarter. They've moved back and forth, jostling for field position. Tommy Burgess, the game is in his hands to win or lose. Will he be patient, or will he try to force it and go for a lot in one shot?
He's being chased by Jones, and he threw that behind Sean Daniels.
Tyrone Jones has played a tremendous game tonight. Maybe this could be his new forte. He doesn't talk and just go out and play football. But he has stepped up to the plate tonight and swung the bat very well.
What is it they say? Actions speak louder than words.
And he's had a lot of action tonight. But Brigance has been the man on the scene also. 6 quarterback sacks. That should be close to a club record, if not a club record.
For most players, that's a season.
And you can look down the list, and that's a lot of them.
Ellingson. Out to the 39.
Ellingson going down, finding that soft spot in the zone, working within the seams.
2:57 remains to be played at Frank Clair Stadium. Again, we remind you, immediately after this game, we'll be swinging from the nation's capital to Southern California for coverage of the Blue Jays at the California Angels. Baseball action coming up immediately following this football game. 1st and 10 from the 39. James Ellingson makes the catch at the midfield stripe.
2 critical receptions back-to-back by James Ellingson. Similar routes. The play prior to the 3-minute warning, Ellingson got him on a critical 2nd and 10 situation where it worked inside, became open on the slant. Once again, Burgess able to come back to Ellingson, who's found that soft spot. The BC Lions secondary is playing kind of soft right now. They're going to have to come up. When you play that zone against Burgess, he'll pick you apart underneath.
3rd catch for Ellingson. 2 critical ones in this late drive. Joseph goes to the outside, close to another 1st down, tripped up by Eddie Taylor.
Joseph swinging out of the backfield. Burgess has had a lot of success with that tonight. Joseph has swung out in the left flat. Burgess with the quick hitter out in the flat, allowing Joseph to get turned upfield and run the daylight, picking up 9 on the play.
2nd and 1, Ottawa.
Eddie Taylor, if not for knocking him off his feet, had a lot of real estate out in front of Joseph.
Burgess is going to throw, going deep for Walker. He's got it. To the 3.
Bruce Plummer victimized on the play. Walker. Burgess dropping back in the pocket. 2nd and short situation, expecting a run, which has been so accustomed tonight. That time decided to load it up and go deep. Walker working one-on-one on Bruce Plummer. Burgess sitting in the pocket, plenty of time. Lets Walker run underneath the pass. Comes back a little underthrown. Works back to the ball. Plummer didn't have vision. Turned around. If not for a saving tackle by Tom Europe, Walker would have walked into the end zone. 1st and goal at the 2.
1:46 remaining. Handoff to Sean Daniels. He picked up a yard. Remember, earlier in the game, the Rough Riders had 3 shots from the 1-yard line and couldn't put it in.
Sean Daniels, 235-pound fullback. You got to put your trust in your offensive line. Right up the middle, you got Kanopoulos, Graybill, Damon, Dioscus, Lanny. Those guys have to get the job done in the late going. Give the ball to Daniels, Joseph, let them punch it in from the 1.
2nd and goal from the 1. The toss to Joseph, he'll score.
Toss from Tommy Burgess with the proper play call in this situation. Gets the ball to Joseph on his pitch out to the left side. Lets him get his shoulder squared up, turns upfield, crashes into the end zone. Over Europe and Brown, the Riders take the lead with 1:20 to go.
And now they have to go for the 2-point convert.
It's essential. The single does you no good. You need the 7 to make the numbers where BC cannot beat you with an extra point. Going to move the ball to the hash to get a little more feel so that he can possibly roll out, get a better vision, survey the secondary, possibly find an open receiver for the 2-point convert.
Now there appears to be some confusion. Smeltzer trying to signal in a play. He wanted Burgess to call a timeout. Burgess looks to the end zone, incomplete. He tried to throw to Walker.
Threw right into double coverage, Don, right into the teeth of that zone. They picked up Walker. Burgess couldn't find anyone else, tried to force it in. The secondary was there with the play.
Well, the problem there, it appeared as though Smeltzer had something in mind other than what Burgess appeared to be calling, because he wanted him to call a timeout.
But see, that comes from the lack of communication throughout the game. When you get in situations like this, knowing that who's in charge, who's taking control, you can't all of a sudden, 10 games into the season, decide this is how we're going to start doing things. But here's Joseph in the backfield, a single back, Burgess with the pitch out to the left, got the shoulders squared up, and when you got a back in this situation, he just lowers the head, runs over Brown and Europe right into the end zone, put the Riders up 24-19. You see it once again from a reverse angle. Joseph knows that he's going to get into the end zone. He is a very determined run at this point. Big play, motivational factor for the team, elated bench, happy to get into the end zone to have the lead with 1:20 to go.
But strange things have happened to Ottawa with less time remaining on the clock than 1:20.
Well, the scenario that was drawn up early in the game, the close games that they've lost, 2 games by 1, 1 by 3, 1 by 4. The same scenario is drawn up here. The defense has to answer.
Philpott starts out from the zone 13. Excellent job of bringing the ball back to the 52. Stopped by Patrick Burke. A 39-yard run back for Philpott with 1:13 remaining.
The BC with the wall left return on that time. Philpott read his blocking perfectly, found the lane, broke it up the left sideline, able to get the ball out to the 52-yard line. Excellent starting field position for Danny Barrett with 1:13 to go.
But the Lions must put it in the end zone if they are to pull this one out.
The offensive line must protect Barrett in this situation.
Wide open is Flutie to the 23 with 1:04 remaining.
Flutie working out in the right flat. You wonder if the Rough Riders are feeling a little snake bitten about right now with what's occurring in front of them. You got Danny Barrett doing an excellent job in the pocket. Flutie working one-on-one against Joe Fuller, working the out route. Fuller looked inside, lost eye contact. Flutie breaking it back in, getting down to the 23-yard line before Trudeau can bring him down.
3 catches for 55 yards for Darren Flutie. 52 seconds remaining. For Clark, can't get it. Oh, Clark was open.
Wide open. Got behind Charles Gordon out in the right flat. Did a switch route right in the middle. Gordon got picked a little bit on the play. Barrett just overthrew it, goes to the stickum, trying to get a little better grip on the football. Hopefully he can hold on to it and get it to one of his receivers, he's thinking.
44 seconds remaining. The Lions have to put it in the end zone if they're to win this game.
And the Riders need a big play right here defensively.
Into the end zone, beyond the reach of Alexander, but there's a penalty flag down at the 5.
Very critical call here in the late stage of the game. Looks like we're going to get a defensive holding right in the middle of the field. Very poor, bad break for the Ottawa Rough Riders right here. You see players looking dejected, heads down, walking back towards the goal line.
Illegal contact on an eligible receiver. Ottawa number 26. First down.
Charles Gordon is called for the illegal contact.
Well, I guess that's a way not to let him get behind you. Keep him in front of you.
At the 14. First and 10 with 39 seconds remaining. Barrett for Alexander. He didn't get in, or did he?
He didn't make it. He was brought down at the 1-yard line by Joe Fuller on the play, but they're knocking at the door right here. When you need the big play defensively, Ottawa has not been able to come up with it. Danny Barrett got the ball at the 52-yard line and then systematically moved his team down to the 1-yard line in the red zone. This is where you got your big fullback, Sean Millington, who has scored twice on the inside traps. You got to look for that play right here.
Joe Paopao talking to Dave Ritchie.
Hey, hurry up, Billy!
First and goal. Barrett is going to keep. He'll score the touchdown. The players had begun celebrating when Barrett threw the pass to Ray Alexander. They thought he was in, but he was stopped at the 1. Barrett takes it in, 25-24, and now BC will go for a 2-point convert attempt.
And the guy that he followed was Big Jim Mills, that one offensive lineman that you don't hear much about, no one ever beats, steady, game in, game out. That time, he and Leo Groenewegen just collapsed the right side of the offensive line. Danny Barrett just fell right over into the end zone. You get a good shot of it right here. Jim Mills, I mean, he's crushing people. I mean, there's nothing that Stuman, all he can do is watch haplessly. Danny Barrett waltzes after the touchdown, gives praise to an offensive line that did a tremendous job on that drive.
You said you don't hear much about him. Well, twice he was named the top lineman in the CFL, but you're talking about basically game in and game out. He simply does his job.
He gets his job done, and that's the reason why he was voted the most outstanding lineman twice in the CFL, because of that. I mean, he's like a quiet hero. He goes out, you can count on him every play. He grades out very high with the coaches every game, and that time it was a perfect example. You got a shot of him doing his job.
2-point convert try. Matt Park underthrown. 19 seconds remain. 1 point. BC leading Ottawa.
And Ron Smeltzer and his staff on the sideline has to be befuddled right now with the going on what has occurred. One more game, being behind by 1 point with less than 20 seconds to go in the contest. And the Ottawa Rough Rider players have to feel a little dejected right now. You work so hard to take the lead with a little less than 2 minutes to go.